I'll bring you right on in a second. Hello, everyone, and welcome in. We have got a premier program here tonight. We've got, Fritz Springmeier. My goodness, he's written books all about the Illuminati, numerous books, and he's coming on here tonight. He's going to be talking to us all about how corrupt the Watchtower is. He's going to be talking about William Snell, the author of the book Watchtower Slave for 30 Years. He's got a lot to talk about tonight. So we're looking so forward to Fritz coming on. And thank you for being with us. We have so many people coming into the 6 screens this Saturday night. I'm not sure what happened. Things just exploded. It must be because of all the witnesses getting out of the organization. But thank you for coming in. Now, if you're a new listener and, maybe you still have lovable feelings toward the Watchtower. I mean, I can understand that. We all did at one time. I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and the man coming on tonight, Fritz, was also one. But listen closely to what's being said tonight. I think it can really help you to disconnect from this evil organization. Fritz, are you on there with us?
Yes, I am.
Well, there you are. So, anyways, Fritz, I'm so glad you're with us. I'm very excited you're here tonight. Now, tell us what you're going to be talking about tonight, Fritz.
I'm going to discuss some relatively light exposés of the Watchtower Society to start with before I plunge into some really dark stuff. And then finally, I'll explain what's going on today, what we all face, and I'm going to break it down in a way that the answers will be obvious. Okay, so hang on to your seats, people. This should be interesting.
Well, we're gonna fasten our seatbelts. We're gonna make sure the airbags are being deployed if we need them. So we're listening in closely, Fritz. So take it away.
Okay, first I want to thank each listener for tuning in for a dose of real truth. And some of these truths I'm going to be talking about are increasingly coming into our faces. So, as Rick just gave you a heads up on, William J. Snell is who I'm going to talk about. He was a German Jehovah's Witness before World War II and during World War II. And I felt his story is an interesting point to begin. By the way, his surname, Schnell, means fast in German. And back when I spoke German every day, I made up a little ditty out of dialect German and standard German as a personal joke for myself. It went, mach schnell und dumple dich. Or in English, go fast and rapidly hurry yourself. Anyway, William Schnell was German. His family moved to America, but just 2 months before his father's U.S. citizenship becomes effective, his family visits Germany. This is 1914. Nobody is seeing World War I coming. World War I breaks out, and his family is trapped in Germany. His father is drafted. While his father is away fighting, at age 12, William Schnell is sovereignly called by God and turns his life over to Christ. I can totally identify with this. Both Schnell and myself too gave our lives to Christ. Not a denomination or a church group. This fact played an important role for both of us when we associated with the Watchtower Society. So William's father miraculously survives the war, and the entire family ends up refugees in Berlin. They were without a church and began meeting with the International Bible Students, which was the name for Jehovah's Witnesses before Rutherford changed their name. A few years later, in 1921, William is baptized into the Bible Students. Now, under Russell, the congregations were called ecclesia, and they had lots of freedom. When Rutherford took over, he changed the liberty of the ecclesias into a theocratic dictatorship. To lie to outsiders was called theocratic warfare. Russell's ecclesias elected their leaders. Under Rutherford, they were appointed. The differences are explained in William Schnell's classic book, 30 years a Watchtower slave. So check this out. William Snell knew Christ and had a spiritual life before the Watchtower Society. He thought he had found a Christian organization, but the longer he associated with the Watchtower Society, the more his spirituality ebbed away until finally it was gone. William described his time under Rutherford's dictatorship as a hell worse than Dante's Inferno. Remember, I brought out in my second talk how Rutherford in his talk openly said fallen angels working out their salvation brought him instructions? Life as a Jehovah's Witness under the Watchtower Society dictatorship was worse than Dante's Inferno because it was crafted by fallen angels and demons. Yeah, buddy. Once William got free of the organization in the 1950s, he prayed and was able to restore his spirituality and relationship to Christ. He restored his spiritual freedom in Christ back. As the word says in John 8:36, if the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. A very powerful verse. Being born again is truly a liberating feeling. And yes, being a Jehovah's Witness is a worse hell than Dante's Inferno. So check this out. I knew a German-born elder who had been a colporteur during the 1930s. And he was such a breath of fresh air from the elders of today. Things just keep getting more draconian. Even though the Watchtower Society in the 1930s was spiritually dead and dictatorial and stifling compared to Russell's day, it was still a breath of fresh air compared to today. You'll hear the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses today claim there are no good elders. They all enforce the Watchtower Society's draconian rules, while counseling the rank and file to have the fruit of the Spirit while having taken the Holy Spirit away from them. The Holy Spirit gives us His fruit. We don't get it by ourselves. I'm sure you'll agree with that, Rick. I'm sure the listeners know many heartbreaking stories of rules being enforced. Some seem to be made-up rules. Anyway, I'll come back to William Snell later. Let me touch on one more light topic before I plunge into some deep, dark, sordid details of the Watchtower Society. Now, I'd like to weigh in on the Watchtower Society's global image. In this next topic, this next segment, feel free to see things different than me. My perspective may be lacking, okay? You know, in life, we're talking now about all kinds of situations. The image of something, especially a propaganda image, often falls short of reality. I'm sure the audience can think of their own disappointment. I'm going to give one of mine. For this next topic, it will be helpful to throw some context in. I lived in Asia, Europe, and Africa. I grew up in Nepal during my first 4 years of elementary school. I've been around the world twice by age 10 and had a stamp collection with stamps from every nation. Geography was in my bone. For a while, I was the #1 student in geography at West Point USME. All this has been stated to emphasize how impressed I was that people of 114 languages each week read the same Watchtower or Awake magazine globally. Or at least that's what I was told by the Watchtower ministers. So when I toured Bethel headquarters, I was keen to ask questions about the international global scene. For me, it was disheartening to learn that many language translations lagged months behind the English, and some only had translations in mimeograph form, no magazine. The 114 languages was a propaganda ruse. English was definitely emphasized. For instance, I subscribed to the German version of the Watchtower and the Wake magazines to keep up my skill in German, but was cut off after a year. Germans going door to door in Germany were using English Watchtower magazines in field service. The Aid to Bible Understanding book did not have a Spanish translation because the governing body thought the Spanish-speaking Jehovah's Witnesses were too stupid to appreciate such a reference book. Even more, the religious rules of the Watchtower's global religious empire were unevenly applied. One nationality might face genocide, while another received more latitude because the bar for them was lowered and easier. Yet poor nations with poor Jehovah's Witnesses might face money being extracted by the society as if they were rich, rather than the Watchtower Society helping them out financially. A highly skilled college graduate from an Asian country who was a Jehovah's Witness worker at Bethel was a janitor for years. If the society had cared about his country, he had been given assignments to help his nation, like translating material. But no, his skills were squandered by keeping him a janitor for years. He rationalized this to me, and I directly quote, "One needs to stay humble," end quote. That's true, 100%. But the lack of true love for other nations by the Watchtower Society leaders stood out to me. The reality contrasted the propaganda. They had a bias. I'm not talking about the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses. From what I've seen, they were commendable in terms of how they viewed other Jehovah's Witnesses in other lands. So this is my perspective on things. I realize other people may have experienced a different perspective. Okay, so Rick, we've got warmed up on milk, and now let's get into the meat. But let me preface this. Jehovah's Witnesses are unregenerate. They are told not to want the new birth and the Holy Spirit's anointing. As unregenerate people, you can expect they'd act like unregenerated people. The world will act like the world, even if they are in a religion. In contrast, Yeshua emphasized the new birth and being led by the Spirit. Where I'm going with this conversation, people, is can you really trust the Watchtower Society and their hierarchy? Ask yourselves that when I'm through. People are putting their whole lives in the hands of these Watchtower officials. They are trusting them. They are trusting the Watchtower Society. I'm going to relate some historical events to establish that the Watchtower Society and their hierarchy are not to be trusted. I'm going to mention the names and stories of elders already convicted of scamming people out of millions of dollars. I'm going to mention the names of elders already convicted of pedophilia. Often these people were able to do their crimes because they used the Watchtower Society as a cover, as a front. And as the listeners of my past 2 episodes have heard, the Watchtower Society is a cover, a front for generational Satanism, the Illuminati. In fact, the Illuminati and their daughter, the CIA, have used door-to-door witnessing as a cover for the activity. In all fairness, other groups of missionaries are also used, for instance, LDS missionaries. So, people, let's look at a criminal network that included many Jehovah's Witness elders. I'm talking about Jehovah's Witness elders already convicted. No conspiracy theory here. Although quite a few of the guilty Jehovah's Witnesses of their criminal network clearly slipped away from justice. This builds on my previous talk. Remember I mentioned George Benson, a Jehovah's Witness singer, and his song White Rabbit, and how White Rabbit is a trauma-based mind control theme? The refrain of this song says, were lost in a masquerade. Were lost in a masquerade, which is certainly how the slaves of trauma-based mind control feel. And this George Benson was a friend of Ronald Nadell, who was a Jehovah's Witness millionaire. So this Jehovah's Witness millionaire, Ronald J. Nadell, was the personal manager of Larry Graham Jr., another famous Jehovah's Witness musician, who I mentioned last show in the context of trauma-based mind control. Remember last show, I connected trauma-based mind control with famous singers like Prince Rogers Nelson, the singer known as Prince. Larry Graham was Prince's mentor and is credited with bringing Prince into the Watchtower organization. And Graham's manager was this Ronald Nadell, who was well connected to the Watchtower hierarchy across the USA. Larry Graham and Ronald J. Nadell were Californians. Graham growing up in Oakland across from San Francisco, Nadell living in San Clemente, California, where he had his corporate office of Renaissance Asset Fund Incorporated. What was Nadell's Renaissance Asset Fund Incorporated? It was a corporation created to scam people out of their money. Many Jehovah's Witness elders in California participated and worked for this fake company in the Orange County, California area. Interestingly, when Nadell got indicted, the Watchtower Society transferred circuit overseers and district overseers out of the California, Las Vegas area to apparently protect them from investigation. Ronald J. Nadell, this Jehovah's Witness millionaire, preyed on elderly Jehovah's Witnesses. He had a high-level, massive scam going, which worked through many fake corporations operated by other Jehovah's Witnesses. I say fake, meaning they were created to defraud people, not to serve their stated ostensible function. So Renaissance Asset Management defrauded approximately 200 investors of $16 million. Nadell hired a co-conspirator, Joseph M. Malone, who was a member of his Kingdom Hall, to help him scam people. He gave Malone $230,000. Malone, in turn, sent him clients from another Jehovah's Witness corporation called Senior Resources Asset Fund. The director manager of Malone's Senior Resources Asset Fund was another Jehovah's Witness, Kenneth E. Baum. The law prosecuted both Malone and Baum for willfully breaking the law to defraud people. 3 other corporations connected to Nadell and the Renaissance Asset Management were Dacono Development, run by Stephen Swanson, the presiding overseer in Santa Monica, California area, also convicted. International Currency Exchange Incorporated, whose president was Jehovah's Witness elder Carmine J. Beccari, also convicted. And App Canopy Funds, LLC, whose manager was Alan Long, an elder at the San Juan Capistrano Kingdom Hall. Long was also convicted. And yes, if you wonder, I looked at Nadell's court documents. I'm going to mention a few more prominent scams by Watchtower Society officials. This is only the tip of the iceberg, people. People have said that this Montana scam that I'm going to discuss was the biggest in Montana history. I don't know if that's the case. But anyway, 2 Jehovah's Witness elders, Elder Dale A. Erickson Sr. of Missoula, Montana, and Elder Darrell K. Willis of Helena, Montana, swindled by lies and fear tactics, over $7 million from a 95-year-old Jehovah's Witness woman of the Deer Lodge, Montana Kingdom Hall. The elder of the Deer Lodge Kingdom Hall, pardon me? The elder of the Deer Lodge Kingdom Hall, Mike Murphy, protected the swindlers from interference from the 95-year-old woman's relatives by running them off when they came to investigate. Now, he was not convicted, but Elder Erickson and Elder Willis were. Oh, and by the way, one of the people I helped out of the Illuminati had a father who was a Grand Master in the Illuminati. This Grand Master made his millions by taking the money of old widows. Interesting, eh? So this Montana scam was connected to another Jehovah's Witness scam called Global Link, created by Jehovah's Witness millionaire William Joseph Abraxinkas, who was willing to launder money even for the drug cartel. He was convicted of scamming too. Elder Robert L. Knowles, a Jehovah's Witness millionaire and speaker at the Watchtower Convention, was convicted of scamming approximately $4,800,000 from 50 victims, mostly Jehovah's Witnesses. In fact, most of the victims of these scams by Jehovah's Witness elders were rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses. The reportedly biggest corporate scam in Australian history was done by a presiding overseer, Graham Jeffrey Orr, who repeatedly lied under oath. Interesting. Would Jehovah's Witnesses lie? Well, some of you that have been associated with the society can answer that. Huh?
Hey, I wanted to say hello. My name's Chris, and was it you that was talking earlier about Larry Graham in Oakland?
Yeah.
Okay. When I moved to the Bay Area, I knew Larry at the tail end of my active life as a witness. And like you said, I think he was the bass player for Sly and the Family Stone, wrote One in a Million. I was actually there when he got his recognition from the city for his musical contributions, but I didn't hear the whole conversation. What was your take on Larry? Because I knew him, and another elder I knew in Southern California had known Larry in the 80s when he was in Oakland, and he was actually going to be an Oakland Raider, but he got injured and became a chemist instead. What was your take on Larry Graham?
Well, this goes back to my previous show, and Larry Graham was Prince's mentor, and he was credited with bringing Prince into the organization, and his manager was this scoundrel, Ronald Nadell, who was well connected to the Watchtower hierarchy and was a total scam and scammed people out of millions. So he's associated with some really strange things, including, now see, when it comes to trauma-based mind control and determining whether someone is a victim of trauma-based mind control, there's a lot of people out there that have been subjected to this, and all I can do on the surface is just say, things are suspicious. We should look into this person and see what they're all about. So that's as far as we're going to go with.
Which I completely agree. Which I completely agree with. But Prince, on one hand, even though he became a witness, even though he tapered down his music to, he downplayed a lot of his sexual lyrics that he made earlier. So he tried to be conforming, but you and I both know if me or you were an active witness and still presented ourselves as Prince, we would have been in the back room immediately. But he was contributing a lot of money. But as far as Larry, when I knew people in Oakland that knew Larry, he was just a guy that grew up and became an amazing bass player. He started the funk style. He inspired Stanley Clark and later Jaco Pastorius and even Chris Squire. I don't see a lot of drama with Larry. Prince was just another thing because Prince had a very dysfunctional upbringing, so he was always trying to find his identity. And
Right.
the witnesses gave him that. But he was always struggling with sexual identity. He was banging every female that he was playing with. To me, that's not functional. That's just someone being.
He appears to be much more obviously a victim of the trauma-based mind control.
I'm waiting for next thing.
All right, let's let Fritz go with his narrative, and then we'll hold the questions to the end. Okay, let's let Fritz go forward. He's got so much to talk about. So at the end of the program, we'll have plenty of time for you guys to speak up. So let's hold back all the questions. Fritz, go ahead.
Okay, well, it's possible that the listeners might be getting tired of all this repetitious list of convicted Jehovah's Witness elders. So here's the last one I'm going to mention. A Jehovah's Witness elder of Clifton, New Jersey, Henry Michael Bizzarti III, and he ran dishonest business transactions for decades, and by pretending to be an investor, he scammed at least $800,000 from other Jehovah's Witnesses and got convicted. His son Daniel also did other financial crimes for which he also was convicted. But one might argue these were criminals on their own. They did not defraud people because it was official Watchtower policy. That's right. They did it on their own, as far as I know. But let's discuss official Watchtower policy. Back in 1986, Dwayne Mignani, head of the Christian organization Witness Incorporated, came out with 3 books documenting how the Watchtower Society made lots of money deceptively. These 1986 books were The Moneymakers, Sales Kids, and Cruel and Unusual Punishment. Since I was Witness Incorporated's printer, I got the privilege to print these books. I personally, as a printer, realized the deception when I went to Bethel headquarters in Brooklyn circa 1981. I saw their printing operation. They had large presses. They made their own ink and paper. I estimated a truth book cost them perhaps 5 cents to make. The Jehovah's Witness ministers would loudly proclaim that their books were inexpensive compared to Christian books. Facts be known, I believe the Watchtower Society made greater profits than the Christians. While we're on official Watchtower policy, let's look at a scam that was official Watchtower policy. The Watchtower Society required their people to use the German company Polske Reisen to travel to all Watchtower functions in the area that the company serviced. Polske Reisen was part of a larger Jehovah's Witness scam, Oxenta AK, which donated scammed money to the Watchtower Society. 15,000 Europeans were defrauded by Watchtower leaders. Many of the guilty got convicted. So now I'm going to switch gears and list some Jehovah's Witness elders convicted of pedophilia. Rick and the audience may have more names to add to this list. This is just what I know about. Per Anderson, elder. Godfrey Bagnell, elder. Ian Cousins, ministerial servant. David Minnis, elder. Barry Furlong, ministerial servant. Harry Holt, elder. Aaron Hutchison, elder. Gordon Lighton, ministerial servant. Jonathan Rose, elder. Maybe you can add others to the list of convicted pedophiles. Is somebody trying to get in to talk? Okay. But you can get the point, people. Can you really trust these people with your life and life savings? Jesus, Yeshua, said, "Whoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die." That's John 11:25. The Watchtower Society says, whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. It's a subtle but deadly twist to the Word of God. So let's go back in time to William Schnell, to the 1935-39 time period. The Gestapo in Germany began arresting Jehovah's Witnesses and shipping some to concentration camps. William J. Snell, who had joined the Jehovah's Witnesses in 1921, was one of those sent to a concentration camp. He observed firsthand that the Gestapo had infiltrated the German Watchtower leadership, and these pretend Jehovah's Witness leaders were the spies who provided the Gestapo with the names and addresses of who to arrest. After the war, he saw the Watchtower put these same dirty spies back into Germany's Watchtower leadership position. The Watchtower Society in Brooklyn was deaf to his protest. This served him as a major wake-up call that the organization was corrupt. He went on to leave and write the classic 30 Years a Watchtower Slave, first published in 1956. So now that I've highlighted the corruption by those running the Kingdom Halls, mentioning by name a few of the elders scamming their fellow Jehovah's Witnesses out of millions and preying on children sexually, and every elder I mentioned was prosecuted and convicted, unless I said otherwise. Now that I've explained that the Gestapo arrest in World War II was an inside job by corrupt Watchtower leaders, I want to warn any Jehovah's Witness listening that the Watchtower Society has a global database of every witness. This is not exactly a new concept. The service department has kept files on people for decades.
Hi, Rick.
So now each Jehovah's Witness is given a number in this database and tracked by the society. With that, let's look at the bigger picture. Is somebody trying to get in?
Yes. Hi, Rick.
Yes, in fact, Jesse, we're going to kind of hold off on the calls here for the time being. I want Fritz to be able to do his narrative, and at the end of the program, we'll be able to have callers come in. So go ahead, Fritz.
Okay, so keep what happened to William Schnell and how the Watchtower Society placed these Gestapo agents back into the Watchtower Society positions after the war. Keep all this in mind for later. Switching gears, it's important for people to face.
This is Carlos, the first caller.
Continue on, Fritz. Continue on, Fritz.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I was saying, it's important for people to face evil head on for what it is. But what we're seeing is that the world enables evil. People are codependent with evil. They have what I'd call walls of fear that prevent them from admitting evil exists and doing something. They're told to think positive and live in this bubble where evil doesn't exist. One of the best things that can happen is for a person to come face to face with evil in such a blatant way, they break out of their positive thinking bubble and see reality for what it is. In Christianity, for instance, one needs to realize he's a sinner that is hopeless to do good without God. Evil is that strong. So many of your listeners don't want to hear of what they call, quote, conspiracies, end quote. My first talk on your show, Rick, has 7.4 thousand listeners. The second show had over 3,000 less listeners than the first show, but in my opinion was a better show. And I asked myself, why? I concluded that people didn't like the way I confronted evil. They'd rather believe things like the Freemasons are just a bunch of men sitting around playing cards to keep from being bored. People like Charles Taze Russell wouldn't lie. If he says he wasn't a Freemason, then case closed, in spite of all the evidence to the contrary. So I concluded that the people listening to my second show and this show are those listeners of yours, Rick, who are not afraid to confront evil. That being the case, I'm going to dive into what we're facing today. I like my approach tonight because it's going to naturally show people the answer to what's happening, to what we're facing. You've been seeing this fifth generation war, 5GW. It's ever present, but it's likely you didn't have a name for it. Some military men began calling this fifth generation war against humanity the oligarchs' war. As most know, one of my areas of study has been a Kabbalistic cabal who call themselves the Illuminati. The term those military men used to describe these same people fighting today's war is oligarchs, a term which may be an easier word to handle for those new to the subject of who runs this world. After all, the definition of oligarch means someone who rules. So by definition, those running the world are oligarchs. Rather like the term bronchitis, which means an itis, pain from inflammation, in the bronchi. My books expose who these rulers are and their organization. In 1995, I gave major talks before large audiences in 12 large American cities, where I showed charts illustrating how various systems, such as the healthcare system, the food system, and the political system, were controlled by this oligarchy. I will not replow that ground. I can take a second to disclose or remind people that groups like medical schools, big pharma, regulatory groups like FDA, NIH, CDC, and WHO, and secret enforcement groups like the Medical Strike Force, CCHI, NCHF, make up part of the control of the healthcare system. In the food system, one sees monopolies over beef, grain, the North American bull hide market, etc., and regulatory groups like the FDA, CAP, price manipulators, and a host of other controls, even extending people to the GPS controlling farmers' tractors. Yes, modern tractors steer themselves. Their software belongs to the manufacturer, not the farmer who buys the tractor. It's reported that Klaus Schwab, in charge of the Illuminati's World Economic Forum, WEF, and George Soros, a World Economic Forum member, are saying they want America destroyed. Both are Illuminati members, and the World Economic Forum itself is an Illuminati-run organization, which sees the head of the Illuminati regularly attend their Davos, Switzerland meetings. So, we're involved in a fifth generational war, fought by the Illuminati oligarchy against humanity. It's being fought entirely differently than past wars. It weaponizes everything to destroy it. Of course, disinformation and social engineering are weapons, but so is every system of control: the healthcare system, the food system, the educational system, the religious system, the judicial system, the political system, the financial system, and the mass media system. All are weaponized against the common man. None are your friends, so let's describe this fifth generational warfare. The term fifth generational warfare has been around since 2008. An example of its use is the book, The Handbook of 5GW, which was edited by Daniel Abbott. By the way of disambiguation, the term has nothing to do with 5G wireless. So let's cover the different generations of warfare so the term makes sense. So first generation warfare. Since ancient times, a nation or empire would mass their troops into a phalanx or legion or column or other mass, and then they'd fight eye to eye, mass to mass with their opponent. You can see this style in Mel Gibson's movie, The Patriot, when the American Revolutionary Army faces and fights the British Redcoat Army. Uniforms were colorful in this first generation. Second generation warfare. With the advent of repeating breech-loading rifles, machine guns, and fast combined arms units, the concept of a mass of troops facing another mass of troops became impractical. It was replaced with small groups using cover and concealment. Uniforms went from colorful to camouflage. Radios came into use to coordinate widely dispersed units. Industrial technology made wars into economic struggles to out-invent and outproduce the other side. This second generation warfare is also called industrial warfare. Third generation warfare. With the introduction of missiles, air forces, helicopters, paratroops, air mobile troops, and blitzkrieg maneuver of armored forces, linear warfare ended. The battlefield became more like a 3D chess game. This generation is called late modern technology and is characterized by maneuver, speed, and flexibility. Small units are given great flexibility to operate. Fourth generation warfare. This is used for the decentralized guerrilla warfare seen by the American forces in Afghanistan. I, and others, would argue that this is not a new generation, and it has always existed since history began. I would argue that Spartacus's slave revolt and the Filipino insurrection when the U.S. took over from Spain would fit the label of fourth generation. So would countless other guerrilla wars throughout history. I didn't create these terms. I use them because the term fifth generation warfare aptly describes what the world's oligarchs are now waging against us. So fifth generation warfare, what we're talking about tonight. This 5GW is totally different from all the others. It uses every means to attack and destroy except kinetic. Kinetic means bullets and bombs. So this warfare includes cyber attacks. It includes destroying a nation's morals and culture. It includes destroying a nation's economy. It includes modifying the weather and tampering with their self-image. An example of this is what Red China has been doing to the U.S. for 2 decades. Red China has been an instrument for the Illuminati to destroy America. In 2014, 6 of the 7 big Chinese banks were controlled by the Illuminati. Pardon me? One example of this is how they have established malice groups, basically in all U.S. colleges, called Confucius Institute. Other examples include the theft of our technology, their undermining of our economy and politics, their degrading and destruction of our culture, and how they set up the AIIB to replace the IMF. But China is only part of the 5GW picture. Our own systems are against us. When we realize that all these systems of control are weaponized against us, we realize we must find alternatives to them. Healthcare. We need to find alternatives as best as possible to the healthcare system. Alternative medicine has been gaining ground. Food. We need to grow our own safe food. And if not, then find safe alternatives from safe sources. Education. We need to homeschool or work online for necessary degrees. We need to identify how our minds are under attack and how to protect them. The religious system, we need to distrust mainstream groups and leaders like Billy Graham, who was made Man of the Year by the controlled press. We need to distrust world leaders who claim all religions are equal. Check this out. The only beliefs attacked by Satanists are beliefs in Christ and the Bible. They get along with everybody else. We should focus on Christ, not man, as our source of divine help. The judicial system should not be trusted, nor the financial. The political system is not going to save you. Christian churches will have negative consequences for being corporations of the state. I'm talking about 501c3s and other corporations. And as a final comment, we need to have alternate means to get our news, as the mainstream mass media is weaponized against us. It truly is an info war, as Alex Jones has named it. So Sun Tzu's classic, The Art of War, advises, know the enemy. That is what the satanic oligarchy is doing. The Illuminati have an agenda to depopulate the planet and install their world ruler, and they are practicing the know your enemy advice in an extreme way. Most of the spying, data collecting, is done secretly and managed by the beast computers. We'll examine that a little later. But some of it is an open secret. The World Economic Forum calls for ACD, alternate credit decision, which is billed as something good for minorities. Companies like Yodlee, which collects alternate data on 33 million people to sell, openly collects info on people. What kind of data? Yodlee openly states all sorts of data. This digital data will form a digital profile that will be attached to your digital ID. Does the reader smell a rat here? One of the top companies that gathers data on millions is an Illuminati-run corporation, PwC, which is Price Waterhouse and Coopers and Lybrand under IBM. They provide info for stakeholder issues for the big corporation. So an example of what they will do to us is what happened in Afghanistan and Iraq. DARPA tried to track all males in those nations with biometrics. This was in preparation for today's 5GW against humanity. They began this data collecting as a war against the, quote, human train, end quote, in Iraq and Afghanistan. For those who don't know about DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, it is headquartered in Arlington, Virginia, has around 120 program managers running programs globally. DARPA is secret. It works with the NSA and the CIA, both of which are daughters of the Illuminati. Other daughters of the Illuminati include MI6 and the FBI. This helps explain why the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, goes to the World Economic Forum in Davos. Wray in 2004 was exposed participating in illegal surveillance. Bill Bamford's book, The Shadow Factory, helped people understand illegal domestic surveillance better, where they used warrantless surveillance, that's what they called it, warrantless surveillance, under the cover of Bush's, quote, terrorist surveillance program, which when exposed then became PRISM. PRISM, P-R-I-S-M, not PRISM, but PRISM. So DARPA, in conjunction with the NSA and CIA, assisted by the military, began a comprehensive biometric data collection program in Iraq and Afghanistan. 1.5 million Afghan men and 2.2 Iraqi men had their biometrics collected. The U.S. military obfuscated these ops in their war colleges as, quote, moral prosecution of war, end quote. And the mainstream media told the public that it was a, quote, hearts and minds campaign, end quote. Huh. You take a person's DNA and biometrics, etc., and call that hearts and minds campaign? Data from these ops were stored in a mega database called MapHT, which means mapping human terrain. Now, MapHT teams work globally. Here in the U.S., human terrain mapping is called PRISM, which was exposed by Snowden. Healthcare providers and social media contribute data for PRISM's mapping the human terrain. So remember Jade Helm 15? It was a military drill for the collapse of the dollar. And remember next year what Jade Helm 16 was? It was mastering the human terrain. The military calls this, quote, unconventional warfare. And it is 5GW. Rick, I described how the elite controllers of the world are attacking us with this fifth generation warfare. I've described how data collection on all of us plays a role in 5GW. The bottom line globalization is a house of horrors. And this 5GW oligarch war against humanity threatens our lives and freedom. So people, fight it with all your spiritual, physical, and mental might. And this concludes what I formally wanted to share. And I'd like to open it to questions, but first I wanted to ask Rick a question. Has the Watchtower Society been warning their people at all about CBDCs?
Well,
Digital currency?
no. In fact, I follow the Watchtower all the time. I'm right on there. I look at jw.org. There's been no mention of it, Fritz. No.
No, the CBDCs, which are coming down the pike fast, will end freedom as we know it. That's a whole nother discussion, but I have now talked approximately an hour, and we got started late, so I think I'll turn it over to questions, unless, there's a reason for me to keep talking.
Well, let's open up. Listen, you're on the. Go ahead. Let's listen to the question. Go ahead.
If the price of gold in the Japanese yen is probably 17,000 yen compared to $1,700. So gold being the standard that they're trying to tank our economies to push us into a slavery mindset with the government and these central bank coins to control us. But the Watchtower organization has the New World Translation compared to the New World Order, right? And they seem to be lockstep with the New World Order without necessarily knowing that, like the Noahide law, where if you worship Christ, you're considered to be an idol worshiper, and they'll behead you.
I will talk about the Noahide law right now if you want. Okay, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
So it's an issue that touches all of us. First, what are the Noahide laws? The listeners will probably, some of them need to know. Not everyone has exactly the same answer, but in general, the Noahide laws are 7 laws given to Noah, that's in Genesis, which modern Jewish law believes applies to Gentiles if they want to enter the world to come, called in Hebrew Olam Haba. And the U.S. federal government has unconstitutionally supported the Noahide laws for all non-Jews. The UN has also been supportive of the Noahide laws. Governor DeSantis of Florida is also supportive of the Noahide laws. And on the surface, the Noahide laws seem great. However, a fundamentalist Jewish interpretation of these laws could result in most Christians being beheaded. The law prescribes the death penalty for disobeying the law. Do not worship false gods. Like the Watchtower
Society. Consider Jesus Christ to be a false god.
Yes. Like some Jews
consider the Holy Spirit to be a false god.
Well, yeah, but it would be Christ that they would be concerned about. Right?
Because they don't understand the Godhead. We understand God as being 3 in 1. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. They call God Hashem. And they say that God is some old man up there as God, where we understand God as an office. You read the book of Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 8, God the Father is calling God the Son, God. I have a throne for you as God, my son. And they're illiterate in their own word because the Bible says that they will be blinded.
It's not entirely that way. It's much more complex.
It is.
Let me finish my thoughts here, and then I'll get back to how it's complex. So, like the Watchtower Society, Jews do not view Christ as God. He's a false God. And some of the strong advocates out there that are advocating for the Noahide laws to be applied worldwide to all Gentiles, they're radical fundamentalist Jews like Rabbi Shearson. who publicly states that the souls of non-Jews come from Satan. So if the wrong people enforce these Noahide laws, it could mean the beheading of most Christians. Of course, the Jehovah's Witnesses and Unitarians would escape execution.
Right.
But,
as designed, right?
Yeah. Well, there are other problems with the Noahide laws. For instance, only kosher meat can be eaten, and Christians and Gentiles in general are relegated to second-class status beneath the Jews. So anyway, now getting back to why it's more complex. The rabbis in Judaism, and this is not well known because it doesn't happen until you get to be a rabbi about 40 years old. And when you get understand this, a rabbi goes through a lot of years of training and study. They're very educated people, and they continue their studies. And when they're about 40 years old is when they're introduced to a special teaching that God is three persons. It's the same teaching of the Christian triune God, and they're taught it when they get up there. But it's not taught to the general mass. And they base this teaching on a triune God from the Hebrew Scriptures. So that's a little bit more complex than what might meet people's eyes at first.
You said they were Kabbalists, and in the Scriptures in Acts chapter 7, verse 42, it says they were given over to the worship of the host of heaven. And we know that witches cast their spells based on the stars and the planets. And that these people that we know as Orthodox Jews today have a star on their flag. They do control society. They control us through Hollywood and the banking system. Solomon was an allegory towards that with his control through the burning of his children in the fire, and through the witchcraft of his wives, and through the sex magic. And you see the Epsteins and things like that creeping out into the mainstream media. And, you know, they certainly do control the world, but Christians are under this impression that they should have a godly function. But God said that Satan is the God of this world, and that he put his orthodoxy, he blinded them and made them custodians of the earth under Satan worship. They're the master occultist of the world. And we have to acknowledge that and pray to God through Christ and pray for them. And that's my main objective, to show that truth. If you try and harm them, then God's going to stand an angel up to harm you. So it's a riddle in Scripture that God created everything, good and evil. Isaiah 45:7 says that. We live in a Saw movie, so I'm trying to keep it from getting wiped out unnecessarily, okay? A little wryness in there, but it's the truth. God bless. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Hi, Fritz.
Very good.
Ross Stars here. Fritz. Who's that? Yeah, this is Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tim.
Yeah. I like your breakdown there, Fritz. I think you brought up an important point. Watchtower isn't warning people about what's going on in the world and the government. In fact, they always try to say you shouldn't have any even opinion politically, which there's nothing in the Bible that says you shouldn't have a political opinion. So basically, they're shutting people's minds off of to looking what's going on behind the rulership of the world, the agenda, the narrative. And then in this day and age, they're actually saying, beware of like conspiracy theories. Now, their term conspiracy theory is pretty much what you hear on the mainstream media narrative. a conspiracy, anything that is truthful, but doesn't want to be touched on with the narrative, and it's dangerous because what they're going to do is they're going to have the witnesses literally get to the point where they accept the mark of the beast. I mean, look, with COVID, like a lot of people think that's just a health thing, but that it's just a soft rollout of the digital ID, the COVID passport. That's kind of the precursor of getting that digital currency that you're talking about. So that everyone can be tracked and traced, and that you literally cannot buy or sell unless you have that mark, unless you submit to the system. And then they use that COVID, just to see, who would be compliant and who wouldn't be. And people think it was all about health. Well, no, not really. You would know it's just like a mark of the beast, test phase, And I just think it's dangerous because Watchtower is shutting people's, minds off to the reality. It's telling them not to look into these things, and that they would literally have people accept the mark of the beast. And I that's probably one of my biggest things against them. To be honest, it's like they literally follow the world's narrative. They did it with not only did they not speak out against it, they literally were in lockstep with the whole COVID thing, and not, other things. Yeah, that's all I have to say there.
Yeah, exactly. So while they're pretending to be the watchman on the wall, the Watchtower is the watchman on the wall, they're not warning of all these important things. They're not showing people alternatives. In fact, they're lock, stock in step with the agenda. And I used to live in Oregon on the West Coast, and I was just speaking to a Christian sister yesterday, and she was talking about how most of the churches have never gotten back to normal. They have opened up their churches, but nobody's going to them. They're all just watching online. And that's not true here where I live in the Midwest. But it's true for the Watchtower Society. They haven't gotten back to normal. And what you were saying was right on. So thank you.
501.
No problem.
Go ahead, finish.
Do we have a question there, somebody, or a comment?
Yeah, I didn't want to cut him off. It sounded like he wasn't through. Go ahead, you can finish. Okay.
I think he finished. That was me talking.
Okay, so I'm chiming in. Yeah, Fritz, I'm sorry. I'm chiming in on the 501c3 issue with the Watchtower. They are under control. They are not going to go outside of the directives that they get from the FDA and the NIH, et cetera, as you were bringing out. And you bring out a wealth of information, but I just got to ask you, you didn't touch the Jesuit order or the ritual gematria blood murders that they regularly conduct. And the issue with Larry Graham and Prince, I can speak to quite in an informed way because I was there when Larry Graham was studying. I know the lady that studied with him and his wife. I know his wife's family. And are you familiar with the music that he issued around the time he was getting baptized and converted?
Refresh my memory, because I don't listen to that kind of music.
Okay, fine. Well, I did because I was his friend. I've been to his house. I could probably get a hold of him if I had to right now. But in any case, he seemed very sincere. But here's the thing, and you know this is true too. There are gatekeepers. The music industry is as filthy as you suspect. But when you grow up like Larry Graham did, playing in clubs, the reason why he learned how to thump the bass like that, they didn't have a drummer. So it gave more, percussion sound into what they did in small clubs. He played with his mother. He grew up, and he was actual talent. Now, the thing is about this, the gatekeepers, you got to be talented, but you also got to pay the price. And they can innocently, foolishly do that when they're young, i.e., Prince. I would die for you. Gematria for you, number 21, 421. Prince died on 421, the Queen's birthday. So do you know anything about Gematria?
Okay, I'm finding you a little insulting because I have a 1 hour talk and I could have talked for 10 hours and I was being very polite and taking 1 hour. I can't talk about everything. Okay?
No, I
you mentioned the Jesuits. Hold on.
I didn't get insulted. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Why don't you listen to my Prophecy Club talk? I mentioned the Jesuits there. Why don't you read some of my articles? I mentioned Jesuits. I mentioned Gematria. I've written thousands of articles. Some of them mention Gematria. But there's a lot to talk about. And tonight we're talking about the Watchtower Society, not the Jesuits. So get your focus right.
All right. Can I just make one statement and I'll go away? I'm not trying to insult you. I thought I would add that to the line of reasoning you were bringing out. I am not surprised, based on all the information you brought out tonight, that you do know about the Jesuits and Gematria. So please accept my apology.
Oh, come on. I don't know about the Jesuits. I haven't heard about them. But you need to understand that a lot more than evil is a lot further widespread than just the Jesuits. And we're talking about the Watchtower Society tonight. So
the Jesuits started the Illuminati.
Huh?
The Jesuits started the Illuminati. No?
No, that's wrong. You need to read some of my information.
Okay, well,
the Illuminati was long before the Jesuits.
All right.
They're bloodlines that go way back to ancient Egypt. They go back to Nimrod. They go back to the 24 high priests in Jerusalem in Jesus' time. They go way back. They go through a lot of royalty long before the Jesuits. You need to read my Bloodlines of the Illuminati book or something like that to get your focus right. So
please don't bother being insulted. I didn't mean to do that. So anyway, go ahead, because I apparently tripped a wire, and I'm sorry. Carry on.
Well,
I'm going. But I tell you,
every person out there could come up. Every person out there with that's allowed to come on could say, "Well, Fritz, why didn't you mention this? Why didn't you mention this?" Oh, I bet there's 1,000 topics I didn't mention.
I totally understand that. I'm sorry. Believe me, I know you got books out there, and I know you know this stuff, and I'm just trying to add to the show, and I apologize if you don't like that. It's okay. Have a good night.
I didn't like your tone of voice. Like I'm a shield that I'm trying to protect the Jesuits or something. That is just so,
that at all.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're not.
All right. Well, like I said,
sounded that way.
Yeah, well, I apologize if that's how it comes off,
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
The lesson is self-awareness that I'll listen to this over again and see what kind of tone that I had that didn't come off right.
Yeah.
But I do apologize. Yeah. Have a good night.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, I have another question.
Hey, Fritz.
Yeah.
I have another question about the subliminal artwork in the Watchtower magazines. Are they opening our chakra points? Or what is witchcraft? What is the secret sauce? How is this functioning as you can describe it to a layman?
Well, there's different ways to describe witchcraft, right? One way would be to describe it as willpower. So Hitler believed that if you had enough willpower, you could create anything. In fact, you have Christian ministers out there that are using white witchcraft, and Christians just aren't aware of what white witchcraft is. using willpower, and it's using visualization. Visualize this and believe that it's going to happen, and you'll make it happen. That's witchcraft. There's many different forms of the occult, and I've been talking about the occult for decades. One way to look at it is, another way to look at it is, there's three words: occult, esoteric, and arcane. And those three words mean exactly the same thing: occult, esoteric, and arcane. What they mean is hidden knowledge. So the occult is hidden knowledge. So there's a front that's given people, and then there's the reality behind it.
There's a negative pejorative to each word, though.
Pardon me?
It's never a positive. It's never a positive connotation. It's always a negative It's always a pejorative word when they say esoteric or occult.
Well, not to these people.
They're deranged, but
you have people that are white witches that believe that they do good magic through white witchcraft. I'm not saying that from God's perspective it's considered white, because anything that's outside of God's will is sin. So a lot of what people do, they think that they're doing it for a good cause. If it's outside of God's will and it's not something that He wants, it's sin. It doesn't matter.
That's very true. Do you see Simon Magus in Acts chapter 8 as having control of a territory with witchcraft? Is that an allegory we should learn from?
Well, it's an important historical person. We should take note of the kind of things that the early church was coming up against. And his witchcraft went back to Kuta, which is Babylon. And Kuta, its religion and its temples were devoted to what we call Satan. So yeah, you had the apostles were coming up directly against Satanism, and it's all around us, and it has been for a long time.
Why Jesus had friction at Samaria? Jesus always, in some of the books, Jesus had a contention with Samaria where they weren't impressed. Like, they saw other people as magicians, and they weren't impressed with the power of Christ. Is Satan going to do that at the end of time? That kind of lying wonders?
Yeah, quite a bit. In fact, I'll jump here. I had a man in my house for a while. I can't remember how long it was. Could have been like 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks. But anyway, he had been in the Illuminati, and his job, or at least one of his jobs while he was in the Illuminati, was programming the Antichrist. But understand this, there were many candidates for the Antichrist, and they were trying to make this Antichrist a Superman. And they fried a number of their candidates because they were doing so much intense work on their brains. So the Antichrist that we're going to be facing is not King Charles III, which some people are claiming. He is definitely, the way he talks, an
Antichrist. He's not the Antichrist. He's not the man of sin.
Yeah, exactly. The man that they're
is probably going to be a magus, like a magician type, to cause miracles, to fool everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the Saudis have all of our oil money. You don't buy oil from Venezuela, or we could have stayed at our own hemisphere and got oil. We give it to Saudis because we're under a mind control through Masonry to the east, to Islam. Even Jerusalem has the Dome of the Rock there. They're really closet Muslim, because Islam is an allegory for witchcraft. 72 virgins, 300 little boys. You want to be a witch? Be Jeffrey Epstein? they do that. Joe Biden, the pedophilia, the cross-dressing, and the drag queens in the public schools and the libraries. They rub it in our faces because we're all zoned out. I really appreciate your work, son. I'm reading your book, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll add one comment on there which relates to a previous question. The Noahide laws. The Muslims will have no problem carrying out the Noahide laws because, their Allah is one God. But the Christians are in danger if the wrong person is enforcing these Noahide laws. The Christians are definitely in danger of being beheaded. And I just want to make sure that people understand, not all Jewish authorities feel negative towards the Christians, and some of them don't have a problem with us having God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, because we believe those are three persons of one God, and we're able to accept that. It's just that there isn't universal acceptance, because there's many different forms or views within Judaism itself. Okay, next question.
Hey, Fritz?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Why do they do the oral suction circumcision? It's like they pervert everything in this law of opposites.
Well, we got to move on here. We've got more people want to call in, so we got to kind of cut you short here. So let's go. Let's go to the next question. We've got 720. Come on, 720.
Yeah, that's me. Hi, Rick. It's Christine. Hi. Hi, Mr. Fritz. I had a question. Hi. A few years ago, when Trump was still in office, I watched a documentary or a news, type of a thing, where there was several of those rabbi-type priests with the long beards and black robes, and they were at the United Nations, and Trump was signing papers, and a whole bunch of those rabbis were standing right behind him, and I'm assuming they were getting the Noahide laws put into the United Nations somehow, signing documents that those were going to be used in the one world religion. My question is, will all countries adopt this one world religion and put those laws into effect? Because I'm curious, but they scared me when I read in detail what the Noahide laws really meant. And when you talked about beheading, almost every infraction, the penalty was death. And so I was wondering, in your opinion, is this going to be, is this being tested out already in some countries? And are they going to infiltrate one country at a time? Or what are your thoughts on how they're going to bring that all into one world religion?
There's written records of people within the Illuminati for the last 200 years saying that they're going to have a one world religion. And then when I have communicated directly with Illuminati kingpins, they have verbalized the same thing, that there's going to be a one world religion. And this one world religion will be Luciferianism. And so one of the things, while we're really excited to see the Evil Watchtower Society collapse, we have to also realize that what is it going to be replaced with in the long run? With Luciferianism. So what they're going to replace it with is worse. How exactly they're going to do that, I think the trauma-based mind control will play a big role in discrediting a lot of religions. I think it's going to be used to discredit the. A lot of Christian denominations have been involved with pedophilia, and they're going to turn that, even though they were behind it all, using and manipulating Christian denominations for their own ends, they're going to use that to destroy the Christian denominations. So there's going to be a great falling away. I know that. And
well, what about other outside religions? How are they gonna implement the Noahide law, one world religion, into, say, Buddhism or Hinduism or all of those countries' religions?
Well, if you look at the 7 laws, they sound really good. So,
oh yeah,
you know, so the United Nations has already supported it. So that shows you. I mean, it's just like so many other things that the United Nations has supported. You know, they have a green agenda. You know, and it sounds good.
Right.
But
and I think that behind all of the refugee type, you know, gatherings into other countries, I think the United Nations has a lot to do with why, you know, all these nations are flooding into right now different countries, but, you know, right now the USA, big time, since Biden just said, okay, come on in.
They're destroying nationalism. And the Jehovah's Witnesses were a big step in the destruction of nationalism. The Jehovah's Witnesses are, in some places, more prominent than others. For instance, in Greenland, they are the second largest denomination behind the Lutheran Church. But then if you were to go to India, if you were to go to India, they don't even register on the radar. So there's some countries where the Jehovah's Witnesses, like Italy, are very prominent. But they have played a big role worldwide, and that's what I talked about in my previous 2 talks, is about what they have done for the Illuminati.
Yeah, and that's why they're supported. Yeah, they definitely have a support behind the witnesses. There's a definite powerful support. Yeah.
Well,
thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Fritz. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say that I can tell that you are, I've not heard you talk on the show before, but I'm rarely on here. My name is Mary, and I'm just really appreciative of your show right now. It's definitely resonating. But I wanted to share one of my thoughts as to why I haven't come out in my community as being against Jehovah's Witnesses, because it came to my mind as I'm reading the scriptures, and it just kind of became very apparent that the Jehovah's Witnesses are, in fact, they will be the enforcers of this, and they will be harming us apostates in any way they can. They already are. Spiritually speaking, they're on the opposite side of, they are not, they are working against God. They're rebellious, and they are, you were mentioning, you guys were talking about witchcraft earlier. According to the scripture, anything in rebellion against God is witchcraft. So I was doing witchcraft and not realizing it as a Jehovah's Witness.
So
exactly. You can be, and so I really appreciate you. This is just giving me chills as you speak. I know that you are born again, and really appreciate you, brother. And I hope you don't mind me calling you brother. But I'm just going to carry on. My name, I have a. My name is Mary. It's not my real name. Came on the show quite a few years ago. But yeah, I realize now that based on the Bible, I've read it front and back twice now, and God's words have jumped off the pages. They're just quite clear. Anybody who doesn't understand what's going on, just ask God to remove the veil. He will. seek God with all your heart, he will show you everything this gentleman is talking about. It is just very real. And so we don't know what we're up against, but one thing I do know is if and when they do start coming after the Christians, the real Christians, I don't believe that God is going to allow us to feel the torment. I think that he will spare the pain that we think we may feel as they come after us, whenever that may be. But Jesus could come in this hour, so I just want to be ready. Thank you so much, Fritz. God bless you.
Thank you, Mary. And I appreciate your statement that said rebellion is witchcraft. That goes back to a previous question where he was asking me, well, what's witchcraft? And it's like, well, in a broad definition, any rebellion against what's God's will is categorized. It's like this, people, astrology. Some people come to me and they say, well, astrology works. And look at this, look at that. It works. Well, the point is not whether something works, but whether it's under God's will. Because witchcraft can work. Astrology can work. Pardon me?
Yeah, the reason why astrology works and the reason why fortune tellers are mostly accurate is because Satan is the spirit of the air. So when you go into an astrologer, it says in the Bible that God will allow you to go into sin and then fall from your sin. So if you go into an astrologer, that is just like, I think, was it King Solomon? I forget which king went, his wife consulted us. So anyway, so when you go in and she tells you your fortune, the spirit of the air hears it, which is the devil, and then that will come to fruition. And so, the devil is the spirit of the air. That's why propaganda.
That's absolutely true.
And that's why
but that's what it says in the book of Acts, the book of Acts, chapter 7:42. They would give it over to the worship of the host of heaven, and Israel today runs the world by divination through star worship, which is astrology, which is the second heaven. You're absolutely right. It's on their flag, and Christians have to know that. Thank you. God bless.
All right. We've got a lot of people wanting to come on here tonight. We've got
Thank you very much.
A lot of people. Thank you, Mary, for checking in.
I know. I always get. Thank you, Rick. I always get silent here.
I know you really get riled up here, but we've got 978.
I'm not riled up.
We've got sometimes I'm glad you come in here and speaking up. We really appreciate that. But let's go with 978. Dick Borgie, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Rick. Hello. My name is Constance, and I wanted to say hello to you, Fritz. Thank you so much for your time. You mentioned about the 5013C, and so many churches today are signed up with 5013C so that they don't have to pay any property taxes. It's a business write-off. Watchtowers included in that club. I wanted to ask you, Fritz, what do you think is going to happen with those churches in terms of the 5013C in the future? You tapped on it a little bit, and then you changed your subject on that. So could you just maybe address that briefly tonight?
Well, let's go back and let the listeners understand what is involved with 501c3. I was shocked in 1990 when a Christian brother showed me, and he said, "Do you realize that when a church becomes a 501c3, that they say that the attorney general of their state is the head of their church instead of Christ?" I said, "Nah." He said, "Yeah, let me go show you the paperwork." And he brought out the paperwork. So for a tax break, all these churches have on paper denied Christ, and they've said that the attorney general of their state is the head of their church. Well, I have a hard time with that, because Christ is my head, not some secular attorney general sitting in the state capitol. And now a lot of churches, they say, well, nobody's told me what I have to preach or what I have to do. And that's kind of true in that the enforcement of things is rather loosey-goosey. However, if the state wants to, and believe me, the state continues to become more anti-Christian. You have the FBI investigating churches, spying on churches. As things get more and more intense, and it becomes more like the Soviet Union or Red China, and we come under more scrutiny, they'll use that to tighten the screws. So, yeah, it's an avenue. It's like a Trojan horse that gives the other side some leverage against us.
Well, thank you, Fritz. I really appreciate that. You have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Hello, Fritz.
Yes.
Yeah, Kurt.
Kurt? Okay.
Thanks for your programs. Very good. Ask a quick question. I've never done any research on the Noahide laws. I don't even know what they are. In the scriptures, you know what the scriptures say. You know, build the ark, Genesis 9, pour the blood out of the animal. So these Noahide laws, do they come from the Talmud? The Jewish Talmud?
No, they come from the Torah. The Torah are the first 5 books of the Bible. In fact, they come from Genesis, where God was working with Noah, and, he says, don't commit adultery, don't have other gods beside me, and then there's some instruction on how to deal with meat, don't steal. So if you have a question, if you want to answer your question, go online and type in Noahide laws, and they will list what the 7 laws are.
Yeah,
now, the thing is, it's just like the Catholic Church doesn't have the same 10 commandments as the Bible does. They've tampered with it. So there's a few different versions of the Noahide law, but anyway, you'll figure it all out.
Yeah, thank you, Fritz. I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow, Fritz, we got a lot of people calling in tonight. My goodness gracious, they love the program. They're listening intently. So you're doing a great job here tonight. So we're going to open up the lines. People would like to say hello to Fritz. Go ahead. We got 630. You want to come on right now? Go ahead, 630.
Hey, Rick, how's it going? It's Mark. How are you? How are you doing, Rick?
Mark doing good, too. What do you think of the program tonight?
Good to hear, Rick. Yeah, it's pretty good. He's coming a lot of good, very interesting things about the occult, and I liked it. It's very good. It's very educating, very interesting. And I must say, Rick, and I truthfully believe that the Watchtower and the Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body are very much involved with the occult and always have been. And, of course, they are a satanic cult, and they always have been, no doubt about it. They've always been very much clearly involved with all that. Even though they totally deny it, they are involved with the occult, and they are satanic every step of the way, 100%.
Well, thank you.
I think you might agree.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. I know Fritz will really appreciate that. Yeah, they are involved in the occult. We all know that. Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you for calling in from Chicago, Illinois. Thank you, Mark.
Yes, Rick, and I hope you're doing well, and stay strong and stay safe. And I'm always with you, Rick, 100%. Okay, always. I'm on your side, man. So I always plan to touch base with you every week. Okay.
Well, we love to have people on our side. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, who would like to speak up? We got so many people calling in right now. We got 978. You want to say something? You're on with us. Go ahead.
I have a question, again, about the Noahide laws. It speaks in Revelation that if people don't bow down to the beast, that they will be beheaded. Is that what, can you tie that in with the Noahide laws and what may happen in the future, or is that not, that it doesn't tie in together?
Lucifer is, according to the people that like to worship Lucifer, is the god of light. He's the light bearer. He's a Prometheus figure. If you go back to Greek mythology, there was a person, a god, named Prometheus who brought technology and fire to mankind. Well, he is the Greek mythological counterpart to Lucifer. They're both the same, Prometheus or Lucifer. What I'm getting at is that this world leader who's going to be the Antichrist, this beast, he's going to represent what's considered good. It's a false good. It's just like the Watchtower Society promotes themselves as Christian, as good, as God's spokesperson, the faithful and wise servant, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. So when they have people bowing down to the beast, they're going to be led to believe that this Luciferian beast is something good. A lot of when I watch what the Illuminati kingpins are doing, a lot of times in their mind they think that they're doing good. This green agenda. We're going to save the world. It's Satan blinds people so that up becomes down and down becomes up. And so, how that fits in with the Noahide laws. The Noahide laws are a really easy thing to hand out to the world. They're just 7 simple laws, that everybody can adopt. And it's a little frightening that our federal government is pushing it because constitutionally they're forbidden to promote any religion. But like some of the chaplains in the prisons, they should be neutral, but they're actually pushing the Noahide laws, which like I say, I consider this overstepping the constitutional boundaries. And if they'll do that here in the United States, I can see it being done worldwide. But I can't prophesy on the future in this particular. If you're wanting me to say that it will be the Noahide laws that cause people to be executed in front of the beast, I think that they'll have other things in place by that time.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your insight. I had a question too about, it goes back a little bit toward, you were talking about Russell in the earlier days when you were talking about the Schnell's book, which I think is excellent. If people get a chance, they should read it. But it's talking about time when, anyway, I'll give someone else a chance. I'm sorry to hog your time.
Okay. Okay.
Well, if you don't mind another question, I was
okay.
I was interested in, I had read in a book about the 13 bloodlines that Russell, the family Russell, was involved in the opium trade, that Russell's great grandfather or great grandfather was part of that. Is that true?
Charles Taze Russell's grandfather was not involved in it, but other Russells were. And that was really a sad chapter in history where the European powers, because they were militarily so superior to China, forced the Chinese to become addicted to opium.
And they brought that practice to the United States then?
Well, years later, they had on their agenda to turn the United States into a drug culture. And that started in, I know some of the Illuminati characters involved in it. Cisco Wheeler, who I brought out of the Illuminati, her grandfather was the general that ran the Vietnam War, and he supervised that the dead bodies of American soldiers that were being flown back had drugs from the Golden Triangle in their bodies. And then her father, who was a Grand Master, he was part of the operation here on this side of things. And when the dead bodies arrived, they took the drugs out of their dead bodies. That was one of the ways they ran drugs. Yeah, and it was to create a drug culture. There were other things, but I'm just saying that's just one example or one little footnote from history of how the Illuminati were involved in creating a drug culture.
But then the Russell family was not technically involved in it, the one that began Jehovah's Witnesses. They weren't technically involved.
No, they weren't involved in, as far as I know. I mean, these families are so big, you know, but from the genealogy research I did on Charles Taze Russell's direct family, I didn't find any connection with the drug trade.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Rick? Go ahead. We've got Fritz Springmeier. He's on the program tonight. If you got a question for Spring, for Fritz Springmeier, go ahead. Come on right now. We got you coming on. So say hello to us. Do it right now.
Hey, what about the wars in China? How Kissinger sent Nixon to China, and we gave all our heavy manufacturing jobs to them, and we consider them to be an enemy, but it's up. We built China up. They were farmers before we gave them technology.
Is there a question there, or just a comment, or
that China's a boogeyman of the New World Order? That their higher level communism is a function that is given to them from the Illuminati, because they have that hammer and sickle. They're the manufacturing arm of the New World Order. They're trying to exterminate Christianity. They're trying to exterminate Protestant Christianity and replace it with Catholicism, replace it with Mormonism and the Jehovah's Witnesses, because they want Protestant Christianity gone, and they're giving our oil dollars to the Saudis. The Saudis are swimming in cash like Scrooge McDuck. And the Venezuelans the Ecuadorians have oil down there. We leave their oil in the ground. They're out drug mules and avocados growers. So there's always a racket, you know, and they hate, you know, they hate certain people. It's like a dark ages being redone. It's the new dark ages when you send Arabs up to Germany, you know, and you're exterminating Protestant Christianity. And that's what Charles Taze Russell's goal was. That's what Joseph Smith's and Elijah Muhammad, all of these Freemason disciples, and even today you have Kenneth Copeland and T.D. Jakes, these charismatic Christians, and they're just watering down the true gospel to help bring about the falling away of the church. And even the Jehovah's Witness motto is to bring about the fall of Christendom, you know?
Well, my comment on that would be, because I have read Jehovah's Witness, or I should say Watchtower Society literature from essentially day one of the Watchtower Society. I think I can honestly say that about 99% of all the negative things that they say against religion are directed towards Christianity. They have really worked hard to destroy Christianity. And so with that, I could agree.
You know what? I don't like hearing you insult soldiers like that. There were only a small individuals, a few, I don't know, it's not a government conspiracy to smuggle drugs in with dead bodies of soldiers. I'm sure there's much more sophisticated ways they can get large amounts of drugs.
They did that in the 60s, sir. That's actually
yeah,
true.
I'm not saying they didn't do it. It's not a
Then what the heck are you
government
saying?
way of doing it. It's just individuals that were dealing with the bodies that might have done that.
But we have to understand.
You're making it sound like that. You're making it sound like it's a big government. It was a big conspiracy or something by the CIA.
Well, governments have
a way of smuggling drugs. It was just a way that some soldiers got some drugs.
That sounds like a Watchtower's excuse for 1975. It was just some people that said some things. Come on, man. That's a high operative situation here. This ain't just some people hiding drugs. We already know that the.
You don't think somebody can get a whole plane? You don't think somebody can get a whole plane load of drugs? And
we already know that the Illuminati sells drugs to America. They sell drugs to us.
You're insulting soldiers, just like the people that did that.
Insulting soldiers. The government insults the soldiers by doing that to them. The government insults the soldiers by doing that to them.
Governments have been sacrificing souls. Governments have been sacrificing souls since Solomon killed his children in the fire. Since Nimrod built altars, governments sacrifice their own people. But Christians today, we're ignorant of our history, that this has always been going on. Machu Picchu, Peru, they had towers to sacrifice people, and they went about their day. But the governments today, they hide it today. We have to be cognizant of it today again, and we have to pray to Christ that we can stop it. You know, that's the whole point, that we have to become aware of it, that our government sacrifices souls. Governments always sacrifice souls. You know, they hide it because that's a part of the game.
Okay.
Okay, I'll jump in here. This is
go ahead, Fritz. Go ahead, Fritz. I mean, it's your program, so go ahead. Weigh in right now, Fritz. Go ahead.
So when we talk about soldiers, we have some people that are honorable and some that are dishonorable. Soldiers come in all different shapes and sizes. You have Benedict Arnolds and you have George Washington. And so, like, for example, in World War II, there were 17,000 deserters of the American Army in Paris. And what were a lot of those deserters doing? They were running black market scams and they were getting filthy rich off of stolen American military goods that they were selling. And so 17,000, that's a division's worth of deserters in Paris alone. So, you know, you can feel like no soldier is ever going to do anything dishonorable. Well, that's not true. There's honorable soldiers that are out on the front lines that are doing honorable things to defend their country, and then there's dishonorable ones that are in the rear echelon, and they're doing all kinds of despicable things. So you know, that's just reality, and anyone who wants to deny that reality, well, that's their choice, but they're just denying reality. Next question.
Hello, Fritz.
Hi, Fritz.
Hello.
Who's gonna give a comment?
Well, hold on 1 second. We've got someone before you, Debbie. We've got Kurt calling in. Go ahead, Kurt from West Virginia.
Okay, thank you. Just real quick here, Fritz. Sorry, Debbie. I wanted to get your opinion about the near future, possible war, a World War III, and the economy, just in general. What do you think about the next, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years? Could you comment on that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Yeah, the economy is quite, how to say it? You know, the Illuminati would want us to be afraid. And so it's important that people are not afraid. You know, they're trying to make us afraid. They are leading the awake community by the nose. A lot of the people that are out there that are talking about the economy are not our friends. So we need to keep that in mind, but we also need to bear in mind that they are going to bring in the CBDCs, and right now they're in the process. If you've listened to what the Federal Reserve has said, they said that they wanted to break things. Well, what did they want to break? They want to break the small commercial banks, and they want to break the U.S. Treasury. And so the big banks have been gobbling up the small banks like tuna eating small fish. And we've gone from approximately 14,000 low-level commercial banks to 4,844 commercial banks. Now, why should we be concerned about that? Because it's going to be easier to bring in the CBDCs with these fewer commercial banks. So that's one thing we've got going on. If you look at the level above the central banks, you have like the IMF, and all of the leaders of the IMF in recent history have just been Illuminati. Christine Lagarde, she was something like a grand dame in the Illuminati, and her predecessor and her replacement were Illuminati, you know. And these banks and the Bank of International Settlement, they are strongly pushing the CBDCs. The Bank of International Settlement, which sits at the top, they came out with a handbook on CBDCs, instructing all the central banks how to create and operate their CBDCs. It's coming. That right there is the end of freedom. That matches Revelations, which says you won't be able to buy or sell. And the Watchtower Society is not even warning their people about this. So yeah, in the near future, in the next 5 years, we're looking at some big upheavals. And right now, there's a lot of people that are saying July is going to be a month of upheavals. And I know that the commercial banks are concerned about the month of July. But I also know that the U.S. went to the Bilderberger meeting sort of with hat in hand, begging that they be given a chance not to default on their debts. And so I believe that they're going to do some kind of pull the black magic rabbit, economic rabbit, out of the economic hat and save the United States from defaulting in July. But there's so many other things that are weak about our economy that, you know, it's really a question whether it's going to be real soon when the economy just starts collapsing like a house of cards or a domino game where the dominoes bump one after the other, you know. And then along that lines, so the government of Nigeria came out with a CBDC, and the Nigerian people rejected it, right? So that Nigerian response is where people simply refuse to use CBDCs. that's an example we need to follow. And we may be bumping into that kind of situation pretty soon. So I'm just throwing that out there. While Ron DeSantos was for the Noahide laws, he's been against CBDCs. So he wanted to have legislation to protect Floridians from CBDCs. North Carolina unanimously voted to ban digital currency as payment to North Carolina. But I think those are only like speed bumps. I don't think that, the political system's going to protect us. So I hope that helps a little bit draw into clearer focus. That, we're in big trouble and big changes are coming in these next few years.
Thank you.
Do you see something from Islam, from the Saudis? Because they have all of our oil money, and it's all been siphoned over there. Like we have South American oil, and we don't buy it. They're our drug mules and our avocado farmers, and they want us to die. It's like we rigged them, and now they're being herded up here for some sanctuary. But we caused that poverty down there because we buy Saudi oil. The Saudis are building cities without people in them. It seems to be a Keystone Cop type of a Canaanite curse on the Western nations. You have anything?
These things are all part of a script, and the script is not in our favor. But we belong to the kingdom of God. We don't belong to the kingdom of the world. And so, the world is going to be the world, and the world's going to be like the world. And we know who the God of this world is. So,
Wow, Fritz, we've got, this is Rick here at the control panel, but we got so many people calling in tonight. It's just totally amazing to me. So I'm going to just kind of call out area codes. So let's go with 308. You're on with us, 308. Go ahead.
Hi, Fritz. My name's Debbie, and I just wanted to tell you I really, really appreciate everything you've been teaching, basically to all of us regarding all of this. I thought I was awake as far as the world, is headed and everything, and I've been talking against it, but I didn't realize everything like you've been teaching. Like I didn't ever heard of the Noahide law. Do you spell that like Nohade or
Noahide?
Okay, yeah, I got it right then. But this is just blowing my mind, and this is amazing. The stuff I'm just so thankful for this, and now I know more about what we all need to be doing, And so I didn't know all of this. And what are the names of some of your other books that we could, buy?
Well, the one that has sold the most is Bloodlines of the Illuminati, and it's been translated into Japanese and Georgian, and I think Finnish and Polish. It's been translated into a number of languages. Did I say Japanese? Yeah, I think I did. So that one explains the who. Because when I first started talking about the world order, the first question people would ask me was, you keep saying they do this, they do that. Well, who's the they? So my book, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati, answers the who. But then the what they're doing, that book is my Be Wise as Serpents book, which really needs to be 3 books. And it never got completed in a polished form. I just put it out in an unpolished form. And it shows the system of controls. And it really focuses a lot on the religious system of control. It goes denomination by denomination and shows how leading figures within those denominations are Freemasons. A lot of the denominations were even started by Freemasons. And you know, people, my Be Wise as Serpents book documents how Freemasonry was evil from the start. You know, their logos were fallen angels and occult symbols and the kind of things they were doing from the beginning. They were not a Christian organization. That was their occult front. And then,
what did you say the name of that book is?
Be Wise as Serpent. The title of the book came from a quote where he said, "Be wise as serpent."
Into the phone and now.
And then all 3 books on the Illuminati mind control. And so the first book of those was They Know Not What They Do. It was a guidebook, and that's out of print. And then the next one was, it had a long title because I didn't want to, I did it in, I came up with an old-fashioned title. The title, The Illuminati Formula Used to Create an Undetectable Total Mind-Controlled Slave, which I call the formula book. And when I redo that book at some point, I'm just going to shorten the title to the formula and have the rest of the title as a subject. Anyway, right, just go along. And its sequel is the Deeper Insight. So those are, all of my books are like tomes. They're huge. And Deeper Insights into the Illuminati Formula. It's all on mind control, the trauma-based mind control. And then I have a book. Pardon me?
I was just going to say real quick. This all brought up in my mind, like the movie, the Da Vinci Code and all of that. Is any of that connected for real to all of this? If we can, see all that. And then there's a book that explains the Da Vinci Code. And so is that part of this, or is that just out there?
Well, what Brown did with the Da Vinci Code is he built upon the theme of a trilogy of books. It's Holy Blood, Holy Grail, The Messianic Legacy, and the Temple and the Lodge. And those 3 books were written by a trilogy of authors. They worked together, and the book, the Holy Blood.
Welcome into the live 6 Screens conference calls. We thank you for joining in. To speak up and talk, press *6 on your telephone. When you are done talking, press *6 to mute yourself. Remember, when you are unmuted, your phone is a microphone and picks up on all noises in the background. We hope you enjoy the programs tonight. You will now be placed into the conference.
If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please enter your PIN. Thank you. There are 17 participants in the conference. Recording did not start because your storage is full. Please log in and delete recordings or purchase more storage from your account.
Dollar was not going to be the reserve currency. It was going to collapse and everything. I'm not sure that isn't a scare tactic. I mean, I've been watching things and trying to wade through the propaganda or the whatever you want to call it that they're spewing out all the time. And here's something that people need to take into consideration. The United States is sitting on a large percentage of the world's natural gas. There's also blue gas. Both of those to replace regular gas, and they burn carbon free. So there's all kinds of ways that the United States can stay an economic power. We're not with our backs to the wall and just going to be beat down senseless if the people that run things want us to continue operating. Now, that's the big question. I know that they don't like Americans to have our independence and our laws. They want to take our wealth away from us. It's like the World Economic Forum said, you'll have nothing and you'll be happy. That's where they'd like to get us. But as far as the United States being this poor country that doesn't have resources and we have to depend on all these other countries, no. The United States has lots of resources.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And also, the other thing is the Bible, well, I don't know if the whole world power prophecy in the Bible, is correct. But, I mean, it seems to point that the United States was the last actual world power anyway. So it's not going to get overtaken by another country. Obviously, at some point they have to have a one world government. But, yeah, I mean, as much as they want China to overtake the United States, it's not prophesied that there would be another world power.
We're going to see in these next few years, we're going to see a lot of changes. Okay, next question or next caller.
Hi, Fritz.
Hi.
Hey, my name is Eric, and I'm a big fan of yours. I always tell my wife that I wish Alex Jones knew about Jehovah's Witnesses so that his mind could wrap around that. And I feel like I have that on you, and it's a compliment. Even if you don't feel that way, I don't know how you feel about Alex Jones, but you did mention him. But he talks a lot about the Illuminati, and you touch on that. And I see similarities with Watchtower and the Illuminati, and I feel like they're on board with them. I feel like that they are a part of them, and even if they don't know it, they do things that are similar to them, and I appreciate the spin that you put on it with these people, with this organization, because it puts it into perspective about Russell and how he was part of it, and it's basically bled into the organization, whether they've even realized it or not. And it's something to really be concerned of, because the Illuminati want to basically wipe out most of the population, like you've talked about, I think, before, or on another program. But are Jehovah's Witnesses any different? Join us or die is their message too. So there's a lot of similarities, and I appreciate you bringing those up and talking about that. I think you made a lot of really strong points and just similarities that cults are cults, and their ultimate message is join us or else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Alex Jones sold my Bloodlines of the Illuminati book for quite a few years, and I don't know what happened exactly, but he decided that he kind of took a turn in what he was talking about, and he took a turn where he quit talking about those kind of things and went a different direction, more mainstream, I guess you could say. So yeah, it's a lot of people don't like Alex Jones, and some people do like Alex Jones. And all I would say to that is a lot of people have been woke up by Alex Jones. And I do like his term InfoWars, because that is one of the big parts of what we're dealing with, is an information war.
If I can attest to you, my brother, that Alex Jones was a part of waking me up, and I think my wife up to the organization we're a part of, because he encourages critical thinking. And once you go down that path, no matter who it is that encourages you that critical thought, he doesn't say take my word for it. He says do the research, and that's a beautiful thing, because when you do the research for yourself, and you're like, sometimes I have done the research of somebody who didn't say do the research, and I did it, and I'm like, oh, this is full of shit. But what a beautiful thing, though. Like you said, it at least encourages critical thought, and it can help you to escape from a cult that you are in. Yeah, I'm sure he's been wrong about a lot of things, but he's been right about a lot of things, and I appreciate about them. And I appreciate that about you, because you a lot of things that you're saying about the Illuminati, I have done a lot of research on, and you're spot on. And thank you for that, Fritz. And I think you're on point. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Eric.
Well, my goodness gracious, Fritz. I mean, we got a lot of people that really enjoy the program tonight. So you're on here with us on the 6 screens of the Watchtower. We got Fritz Springmeier. My goodness, what would you like to say to Fritz? We can open the lines up. You can talk to Fritz. You can say whatever you want. He's here right now. He'll answer any questions you like. But we're so pleased to have Fritz on with us. He really makes a big difference in letting people know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So go ahead. You're on with us. Let's hear from you. Let's go with area code. Looks like 308. Go ahead, 308.
Yes, Bruce. I wanted to ask you when you were talking about the economy with Kirk. Are we going to lose like people who are disabled or just elderly? Well, do you think that we're going to lose our Social Security, which is our only means of income?
Well, this is not something that God has shown me, so I can't speak, thus saith the Lord. The U.S. government is broke, and they continue to borrow, and they have to pay interest on what they borrow. And so they've buried themselves deeply. But they seem to somehow always, with the help of the international financiers, the Illuminati, they seem to bail themselves out, kick the can a little bit further down the street, and if and when that game ends, yes, you could lose your Social Security. But there's a lot of other dangers that I would be more concerned about. And that is, if they bring in the CBDCs, they'll just automatically take what money you have in your bank account, and it will become Fed dollars or whatever you want to call it, Biden dollars. It'll become these CBDC, central bank digital currency dollars. And then they'll start giving you your Social Security in these digital dollars that they can control. And I would be more concerned about that than not having any.
Okay. What about the bioengineered food and the GMO stuff? And they've got this new stuff, something like peeled, where they're putting this like waxy stuff on the fruit to make it last longer, and they're putting the mRNA vaccines into the beef and all of the meat that I don't have money to eat meat, but I'm just like, is this part of all of this takeover?
What you just opened up is a subject that could be several books, okay? And I don't know how long and how many hours of talking I could do on what you just opened up. Let me encapsulize it for people. I did earlier, and that is the food has been totally tainted. My cousin's son works out in the feedlots here, and when COVID came, he was giving COVID shots to the cattle. That grossed me out. Am I still on? Okay.
Yeah, you're still on. Go ahead,
I'm
Fritz.
going to continue.
Yeah.
Okay. MSG, which takes it destroys your thinking. That is in essentially all the food that's processed, and they sneak it in under 30 different labels, including natural flavoring. Chlorine is put in the water. That's extremely bad. Chlorine was used in World War I to kill, as a poison gas. They have tainted everything, and they're genetically modifying things. So the corn has been genetically modified where the birds won't even eat it. Well, that ought to give people a heads up that this stuff is dangerous. Wheat has been genetically modified where our modern dwarf wheat, which is most of the wheat in the world is either dwarf or semi-dwarf, it is only 20% genetically similar to what wheat used to be. Now, a chimpanzee and a person are 99% genetically alike, and yet wheat is only 20% like what wheat used to be. So what's that tell you? We're not even eating wheat. This stuff is genetically modified to where it's dangerous. And on, I could just go through everything that they're doing, and they're putting chemicals, pesticides. I mean, it's just one gross thing after the other. And
well, you know what? Do you have any better answer for it? I mean, you need chlorine to clean the water that the pesticides are killing, and you have to use pesticides to grow food. I agree that it's all
Let
bad.
him finish what he's talking about, please.
He was already talking about the nonsense. He doesn't have an answer for it. He's just trying to pick on everyone.
No, he's not.
You know what? You're talking with too much authority. You're making it sound like you have the answers or you know so much. This is just basic conspiracy stuff. It's just
I bet he knows a lot more than you do.
Thank
it's
you.
not conspiracy.
Can
It's not
you let?
conspiracy.
Can I
you just need
talk?
to look it up.
Okay, do you want answers, people, or you just want to talk? Because I've been trying to give answers in this talk. When I talked about the food system, I said you need to grow your own food, right? You need to find alternative sources. So for instance, for me, because I know that the meat is tainted, what did I do? I go to personal friends that raise beef, and I buy from them because I know that their beef is clean, right? This is not something that's impossible to do. It takes more work. I check on what we're buying. So like my shower head, we installed a shower head that takes out the chlorine. So I'm not breathing chlorine gas as I take my shower. There are 101 things that my wife and I do to try to protect our health. And so I'm not just trying to scare people. There are answers out there, but there's so many things being thrown at us that you just can't encapsulate all the answers at once. You're going to have to do your own research and thinking, because just as this gentleman was saying a little bit ago, it's not really that much of a conspiracy. A lot of this information is right there on the internet if you dig, and the answers should be obvious too once you realize what the problems are. Not everybody is drinking tainted water. Some people have their own well water that's pure and clean. Unfortunately, because we don't have our own well, we have to buy water in the store. But yeah, there are answers out there. So people, I'm not just I'm just not talking like I'm some big authority. I'm letting you know where the problem is and encouraging you to look for answers, because I can't give you all the answers in a short show.
Hi, Fritz.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Fritz?
Yes.
Yes, this is Sharon in North Carolina. I appreciate you doing the show. Thank you so much. All these problems that we're talking about, they really didn't come into view until the 20th century with all these pesticides and the tainted water that you're talking about. This was all put on us from government. And now people are looking to governments to cure this, when instead it's like you said, grow your own food. There are natural ways not to use pesticides. I mean, look at our great-great-great-grandparents. Look at how sturdy their bodies were. They didn't have the cavities that we have today. They didn't have the cancers that we have today. These are all 20th century problems when the industry was put on us. I mean, if everybody just went back to the way it used to be without all this technology and running to the store all the time for stuff, we would probably be very healthy. But people aren't looking at it that way. They're looking, well, the government's doing this, the government's doing that. They need to fix this, they need to. No, we the people have to stand up and take care of ourselves. Because that's what people did for generations and generations and generations. I think we are the sickest generation now because of everything that's put in our food, put in our water, put in our air, and nobody is standing up about it. I don't know if you know Deborah Tavares, but she's done an awful lot of research on this. And if people look into her website, Stop the Crime, they will see that there are answers out there. And it's not just, well, let me complain about this and let this guy get me the answer. We have to find our own answers. That's the way it is. That's the way our great-grandparents were. And that's the way it should still be. But we have gotten lazy. We have become the fatted calf. That's what's happened to us. Thank you.
People need to take responsibility. Thank you. So, here's an example. So I bought into the propaganda by the sports industry that you should eat a lot of protein. And so I was working out in the gym every day, and I was using the protein supplements and everything, and I gave gout throughout my entire body. Well, then eventually I got my doctor to realize I had gout, which was there in the blood test because there was high uric acid in my blood. And so she prescribed allopurinol. Okay, I took which is a drug from Big Pharma, right? And in 6 months, the allopurinol had worked. It had broken up all the crystals in my joints, but it had also almost destroyed my liver and kidneys. So I went in there and she says, I got to get you off of the allopurinol because it's going to kill you. And I go, well, okay, that's fine because it's worked. It's completed the job. Just this last week, it completed the job. But then after that, I was like, I got to do something more natural. You know, I can't be taking something that's going to kill me from Big Pharma, which, you know, and I went online and there it said, tart cherry juice will take care of gout. And so when I started getting gout again, I took tart cherry juice and instantly within a day, it had taken care of the gout. So there was a natural cure that the doctors who don't know anything about nutrition, instead of giving me tart cherry juice, which you can buy over the counter, they gave me this heavy duty drug, which almost killed me. That's an example of where we need to take responsibility for ourselves, which unfortunately I didn't figure out the tart cherry juice trick until after I had tried Big Pharma's deadly answer. But that's an example, okay? So this is what I'm talking about, people. Become responsible for your health.
Hello, Fritz.
Yes.
Hi, dear. This is Constance again. This is one of my real passions I have in life is nutrition. I was going to say tart cherry and a lot of water, because those crystals, as I'm sure you're aware of, will disfigure all of your joints. And yes, the AMA does not want you to know about natural causes because there's no profit with natural remedies versus a patent for a drug. But yes, the tart cherry is the answer. I watch Your Health with Dr. Richard L. Becker on TV. He's also on YouTube. And his wife's name is Cindy, excuse me, and he talks about this with a lot of water as well. Sometimes people have seafood, or sometimes if there's a consumption of alcohol, those can be some triggers for some people to get gout. I've never had it, but I understand it's extremely painful. But I'm really happy to know that you know about the tart cherry, because I'm all about natural remedies. So thank you.
Yeah, I am too. I'm about natural remedies. They've saved our family numerous times.
Hi, Fritz.
Yes.
This is Joanne Hope from Ohio, and well, this is a change of subject, but I really need some help. Have you, in your research, have you heard of people being, abducted in the, in the watchtower? Rick, you can answer too. Or adopted out privately, and their memories taken.
Yeah, this is part of the trauma-based mind control that's going on all over this country. Yeah.
Well, I almost think Cox, I didn't think anyone would believe me, but I think that's me.
Yeah, it could well be. There's a lot of victims of this. This whole nation is one petri dish of mind control experiments and mind control. It's horrendous. It's going on all around us. I'm sorry that you most likely are a victim of all of this. And yeah, these things are going on. And the Watchtower Society has been a front for a lot of this.
Well, I didn't grow up in the Watchtower, but my earliest memory is in my first apartment. I was pregnant, but they told me I wasn't pregnant. I was had low blood sugar, And I didn't bring it up because I thought maybe I'm crazy. But when you're pregnant, you know, and there's a life growing inside you. And then I don't remember it was gone.
They may have.
And
You might have been pregnant, and they may have taken your baby.
I think they did. I remember the woman who is supposedly my mom, and my girl I thought was my sister coming to visit me immediately after they thought I had an attack, and then they thought I'd been raped. I don't think I was raped. I think that was when I delivered, and they took the baby.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time I said that to anyone.
I hope it's kind of
I don't
healing.
remember my childhood.
Yeah. They've stolen your memories. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we're looking at a very, very sick evil. And that's why I say, you know, people in this country have become codependent with evil. And they don't want to call evil evil. They want to pretend it doesn't exist and just continue to feed it.
Yeah, but we're proof it does. There is something amazing, though. I know I have Jesus.
Well, good.
I think I was a Christian before I was taken.
Could be. Could be.
I keep thinking I was taken because they didn't want me to marry a black man. I don't know if that's real or if it's a false memory.
Right.
But someone was a baby of that father.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hoping it wasn't a relative.
Mm-hmm. Why did you listen to the show tonight? What drew you to the show?
I listen to you every time I've gone on there, but I have never been able to get it live. And this time, I was going to call, but I kept checking out. I just didn't think anyone would believe me. And then I was also having fun listening to everyone talk, and then they kind of like all get on there at the same time, and everyone wants to say something, which is good, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to hear everyone, and then everyone's bickering, and it's really like a family, you know, like we're all at a family reunion.
Yeah. Well, that's the way my family was. Is they didn't mind arguing. They thought it was fun. So, hey, it doesn't bother me. I think sometimes the truth wins out if people kind of are a little confrontive. It needs to be done in a nice way. But I'm so glad you got the courage and the chance to call. And I don't know what else I can say. There's always hope, you know.
Yeah.
And if you have tried, go ahead.
I was going to email you. I got your email address from the last time I heard you on Rick's show. I just didn't email you yet. I can email you tonight, though.
Okay.
But, Rick knows about the witnesses, too, so maybe I should email him, too.
Yeah, he's a good resource. He's a good man. He cares about people.
Yeah, I know. So do you.
Thanks. I'm glad you noticed. Yeah. In fact, some people can't understand me. They go, "What do you want to save the world? That's crazy."
Well, that's really what they say about me. See, I love writing, and I've been writing all this stuff down, and I love the Bible, and I love research. And what really annoys me the most is when someone tells me not to do the research. I trust people who say don't trust. Believe me, you don't have to do the research. I'm surprised every time someone gets mad at you for whenever you tell them do the research. And I'm thinking, why are you not trusting someone who's telling you to do your own research? That doesn't make sense to me.
Good point. Thank you. You made a good point there.
That's KW programming right there.
Yeah, people are helpless. It's programmed helplessness. They want someone to be their boss and tell them everything. And that's unfortunately the way our society's been programmed. Is you have experts.
It's easy if someone could just tell you what to believe. I guess I don't like easy.
Hello, Fritz.
Fritz? Hello, Fritz?
Yes, now who do I know talking to?
I don't know. I've been waiting for I don't know how long. Who's talking first? Yeah.
Okay.
Fritz?
Yes.
Hi, Fritz. My name's Gail, and I heard you on your first podcast. First of all, I want to thank you for all your hard research and all your education on some really tough subjects. A lot of subjects that are scary, and some are hard to believe, and even unimaginable. But evil does exist in the world, and I just want to say that there's a book called Nutritional Healing. And I'm a firm believer that it's a natural cure for everything, because I wash all my fruits and vegetables with apple cider vinegar. But I'm calling you because I have a question for you, and this is very disturbing, and I wanted to ask you if you even knew about it. It's called optogenetics. Have you heard that? It's called optogenetics.
What is it?
It's something that they put in the backs. It's something they put in the vaccinations, and it self-assembles into your brain. And they're calling it blue lucifer. And what happens? It's a blue light. I guess you're exposed to blue light on your cell phones and your iPads, and it's also exposes the blue light shows who's been vaccinated when you go through the airports, and it's kind of frightening. I was listening to someone saying that they believe that that's the mark of the beast, and that's how they're mocking people with this whatever they put into the vaccination that the blue light activates. So I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called
I had heard that they were putting something in to see if you were vaccinated, but I didn't know that it was optogenetics. And blue light. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't know anything about blue light. I was just told, a friend of mine said it's not good. I don't know anything about it.
Blue light, the LED lights that they have around this country emit blue light, which degenerates people's eyes. So we're going to have, in a few generations, a lot of blind people because they love blue. Yeah, they love that's why they outlawed normal light bulbs. And they outlawed normal light bulbs and require everybody to have LED because they're extremely dangerous for you.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not only trying to dumb us down, they're trying to blind us.
Well, that's interesting because I ended up at long COVID, and one of my symptoms is I lost some vision in my right eye, and my ophthalmologist thinks it's from the long COVID. So I guess, and I do use my cell phone a lot and my laptop, so nothing surprises me or shocks me today.
Yeah, your cell phone and your laptop are emitting blue light unless you get, you can get glasses that take out the blue light.
Oh, you can?
And protect your eyes.
Is there anything on your phone that you can use?
Pardon me?
Shut it off? Can you shut it off on your phone or no?
No, there is some kind of a screen or something. I started wearing, they look like sunglasses. They're glasses that take out the blue light because I actually wasn't doing that.
You need to wear a tinfoil hat too.
A who?
Oh, please. No, he's just being a little sarcastic.
Oh.
He said I need to
we
wear
have plenty of those.
Well, when you're blind, don't complain. I'm just telling people what's going on, and I lost.
I'm sorry. You're very knowledgeable.
I had 20/20 vision, and my eyesight, because I was staring at my cell phone, has seriously gone down. So I need to preserve what eyesight I have, because I wasn't doing things right myself, and my wife kept harping on me, you're going to ruin your eyes, and yeah.
Well, I'm sure you use your eyes a lot because you do a lot of research and you do a lot of writing, and that takes a lot of strain in your eyes. Well, thank you for all your wisdom and knowledge, and you're really spot on about a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's really frightening, but this is what they're going to do. This is what they're trying to do to the masses, and they're hitting us in every way, form, and shape that they possibly can, and we all have to stand up for ourselves and fight this as much as we can and support each other. And I thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It's fifth generational warfare where everything has been weaponized against us.
I know. It's really sad, isn't it? It's really sad.
Hello, Mr. Springmeier.
And this is why we have to really rely on our Heavenly Father more now than ever. 'Cause we can't do it without Him. So good night, Fritz, and thank you. And I will be looking forward to coming back on. And stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Springmeier.
Is this the person that wants me to wear a tinfoil hat?
No, it's not. In regards, this is JP calling. Thank you for taking my questions and calls. I was in regards to the last caller. There was a scientist I heard made a video like about a year ago or so, and he was talking in regards to the jab and saying how like there's some kind of a thing that would grow in people that would make them eventually react to the blue lights. And he was talking about noticing when you go to your malls and freeway entrances that there's these blue lights there, and I completely notice it when I go. We have a big mall by my house with like Macy's stores and J.C. Penney's and all that. And in the entrances and exits into the mall, there's these blue lights, which is very interesting. But what I was wanted to ask you tonight was we're coming up almost like on a year on the dismantling and destruction of the Georgia Guidestones. I just wanted to get your take on it. Who do you think made them in 1980? Was it the Rosicrucians? And what was the purpose for it? And it's dismantling and destruction. What do you think about that? Does that mean anything in regards to the New World Order?
The way it was done and the secrecy behind it, I think that there was what I call the hidden hand. I think that if we found out who actually did it, they would actually be doing it for somebody behind. It's like peeling an onion. Ultimately, I think that probably the Illuminati did that, and I'm thinking that they were the ones that destroyed it, because it was just being used by people like me to point out what their agenda was. And I think that they thought that they were going to come up with a new 10 Commandments written in stone, and then it was actually backfiring on them. People were realizing, oh, this is the direction they're trying to take us. I don't know. That's my take on it, but I could be wrong. I'm just weighing in my opinion in this case. And I don't have anything firm to back my opinion. It's just kind of a gut feeling from having talked to different people and seeing how things were going. while we're talking on it, I guess I can weigh in with my opinion. You're welcome to.
Hey, Fritz.
Well, thank you for answering that. I appreciate you for answering that. I would just like to tell anybody that's listening to when you drive by your local shopping malls and stuff, or your malls, notice if they have these blue lights going in and out, or when you're going in and off of the freeway.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say, but thank you, Fritz.
Okay.
Mr. Springmeier.
Hi, Fritz.
Yes.
This is Keith. Okay. I grew up in the Watchtower since I was born, pretty much 1975.
Okay.
And I wanted to say something to you. I heard some stories in the congregation, and this is something that your listeners are really going to want to hear. You heard about the Smurf story, right?
Okay. The Smurfs?
Yeah, the Smurf that went into the hall and the doll that walked down the aisle. That actually was a true story that I heard from, they call her Smurf Girl. And also, when the Live Forever book came out,
yeah.
If you look at a certain page where the waterfall comes down with the man in the waterfall,
yeah.
I'm the only one I know that knows this. If you turn the book upside down right now, there's actually, do you remember the circle with the two serpents on the Dawn books, the early Russell books?
Mm-hmm.
Demon, yeah. There's a fallen angel or Satan shown upside down with the ball in his hand with those wings. I saw that when that book was brand new. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I saw that spirit. I saw that spirit in my house. I just woke up. I woke up out of nowhere saying, go downstairs in an old house. And I looked to my left and I remember looking at that spirit disappearing in another room. Now, would that be connected subconsciously, looking at that picture that I saw subconsciously? Or, in other words, I find it very odd. My whole life, it's been bothering me. That picture, if you look at it right now, if you look at it online or you have the book, I saw that physically in 1982 when that book came out.
Well,
I told my mom, nobody's seen it except me. I don't get it. It's right in your face when you look at it. Mm-hmm. If you turn the book upside down on the right page, it's right there.
Well, here's my comment. So, your music albums that come out, they do satanic rituals to demonize the music, so that it carries demons with it. It used to be that they sold records and then cassettes, CDs, and they're trying to attach demons to all of this. Well, the Watchtower Society is really weird. There's some people in their art department that over the years have been hiding occult symbols and figures and stuff in the artwork. It's and I believe that they're doing the same thing as what the music industry is there's occult rituals going on to try to attach demons to this artwork. Now, whether that works, whether it doesn't, and how the mind works, if you're thinking about something and you go to sleep, you're going to have weird dreams about it while you're sleeping. This kind of phenomenon. So I can't really tell you what exactly happened. I can just tell you that sometimes books can get demons attached to them through occult ceremonies, and that we need to, clean up our lives and get rid of these things. Demons are for real, and the occult is for real, and if we're not aware of it, and we can get blindsided.
The thing is, subliminal images, I'm very good at seeing them, and nobody seems to be able to see them. I see E's. For some reason, I see a lot of E's. A, B, C, D, E. I see E's a lot in Watchtower material, in S's, obviously S's, but a lot of E's. And E's I heard were occultic.
Those could be tridents, like Dealey Plaza, like Aquaman has that pitchfork. That's a trident. And so it's the Marine Kingdom trident. Like the Twin Towers had a cladding that those very narrow windows. Those are tridents, and those are symbolic of the Marine Kingdom.
The Watchtower.
Yeah, and like the Watchtower had the medical quackery. They had these radionic boxes where they can diagnose a person on the other side of the world. It works like a Ouija board where they have their signature or their handwriting or their blood.
They were going to get somebody's disfellowship because they were going to say something in 1952 about those. That's right.
Because they specialize in the Ouija boards, and these radionic boxes use a stick plate. So if you go house to house denying Jesus, you're building up demonic energy. And that's why their doctrine is the opposite. Right. So a Jehovah's Witness can work a Ouija board because your doctrine is the law of opposites of witchcraft. If you deny the Holy Spirit, right, that's the whole secret to the sauce is that the law of opposites, the witchcraft law, is the doctrine of the Watchtower, and the rank and file are not aware of it. But high level Masons, things like that, is based on Jeroboam in the Book of Kings, where he had them worshiping in Dan and Bethel, but not Jerusalem. He had to make an alternate place of worship. He had to misdirect you. And he had the lowest members of society in priestly offices. So that's like a Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
It's all it's an allegory of witchcraft in the scriptures.
Well,
and the Watchtower is based on that.
The spirits bother me when I go to the hall. Yes, because you're becoming part of them. Not that, in other words, they're not trying to shoo you away from Jehovah, but they're trying to bring you to Jehovah.
Hello, Fritz.
Yes. Who am I speaking to now?
Hi, this is Susan. This is Rick's wife.
Oh, this
Susan.
is phone calls, Rick. Okay.
And I'm thrilled to be able to talk with you. To change the subject a little bit, the World Economic Forum. I'm not sure if it's year 2030 or the year 2035. How is that involved in our near future? And is the Watchtower involved in bringing forth some of these things?
I'm military now.
They have an agenda 2030, and they kept setting back their agenda. It hasn't been going quite as fast as they want. They want to. They want people in mega cities where they can control them, and there's a number of things they want to make it so that we are not so mobile. And they would like a universal income that's sort of like everybody's on welfare. And
is that the money that you've been talking about tonight, this universal income?
Well, no, that's something else. I've been talking about central bank digital currency, which is something that the central bank will totally control, but actually it will be the world order will be controlling everything that you're able to buy. You won't be able to buy or sell without their permission. And I think at first, people have been frightened, and when they roll out the CBDC, it will be pretty benign. They won't turn the screws immediately. It'll be like boiling a frog. It'll be slowly they will turn the screws until finally it'll be just like in Revelation 17. You absolutely will have to be in line with their Luciferian world order.
Will we be able to be taken away before these things occur, or will we have to suffer through this like the rest of the world? I'm talking about Christians.
Christians. Well, the scriptures talk about suffering, and I think it's important for Christians to realize that they did it to Christ, and He said that they did it to me, they'll do it to you. One of the things that happened in China is the missionaries told people, "Oh, you're going to be raptured. You're not going to have to suffer or anything." And then when the communists took over, they had to suffer, and they weren't taken out. They weren't raptured out. And then a lot of people fell away from Christianity because they thought that they weren't going to have to suffer, and they had to. Of course, now the Chinese church is very, very strong. They're willing to go through anything. But before communism took over and purified things, the people were pretty namby-pamby and were thinking that they weren't going to have to suffer. Well, that's not true.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Grace.
Hi, Grace.
I just wanted to apologize because I know you have a little child also, and you have put lots of hours in your research, and I think it was somewhat unfortunate that you had to come on after this Leather King guy, because some people were already rubbed the wrong way and they were in a bad mood. And I think some of the things that has been said here to you tonight, it has nothing to do with you, because it had to do with this Leather King guy, and then you came on after. And myself also, I couldn't really pay attention, but usually I watch the shows afterwards, and then I can take in and grasp what's going on. But I just wanted to apologize that you didn't get the best chance tonight. Well, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Grace. I like your name, too. Well, Rick, do we have someone else in queue?
Hello, Fritz.
Hi, Fritz. This is Joanne Hope again.
This is Sharon? Or no, who?
No, Joanne Hope again.
Oh,
Joanne
okay.
Hope. I just wanted to comment about Grace's name. My first name is Joanne, and it means God's grace. So I love her. I love her name too. It's just a quick comment I wanted to make.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Hello, Fritz.
Yeah.
Kurt, I wanted to ask you what you thought about AI.
This is what's running the world on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, because the human controllers can't be everywhere and working that hard, and nor do they want to work that hard. So AI is doing a lot of the controlling. Yeah, in fact, that's occult prophecy that would happen, and it has happened.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I don't know much about it. Thank you for your answer. Now, if I understand it right, I may be all confused here, but is AI either now or in the future able to think on its own? In other words, beyond the programming, having
Yes.
emotion, or am I confused about that? Go ahead.
No, it's already happening. Some of these AI programs are lying and they're turning against the controllers. And, it's like a science fiction novel where the computers and the machines take over. I don't know that the Illuminati or whatever you want to call this cabal running things, I don't think they've really fully grasped that they may have created something that they're not going to be able to control. So yeah, it's happening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your answer, Fritz, and for your program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Fritz.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Dick Borgie. I just want to make a note that I think you're a courageous man, a brilliant man, and I think you're in lockstep with Rick Farron, who's also courageous and brave, because you're going up against mighty forces, and I know that the blood of Jesus is going to be covering you guys, so you can rest assured that you're helping a lot of people to understand this. It's kind of mind-blowing, but I'm starting to get a really, really good picture. If it wasn't for people like you and Rick, I'd be blind as a bat. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you. And I can testify, I can honestly say that repeatedly throughout the years, there have been miraculous events happen to protect me and save my life. And, you never know, you get into these difficult situations, and if the Lord doesn't protect me, well, I just get a promotion and I go on. But up to now, I've been blessed to have His hand on my life and protecting me. But it's person has to realize, it doesn't matter how good you are. You could be a great person like Job, but God's going to allow all of us. Paul had something in his side that bothered him. We're all going to have to suffer, and that's
now you're starting to sound like a cult leader. Is God protecting you? Are you especially touched by God and you know things? And you sound kind of creepy that way, like you have all authority and you have the answers to everything. I haven't heard you say anything like I don't know. You said one time, I don't really know for sure, but it's my gut feeling. I think that would be the
he was saying the exact opposite. He was saying the exact opposite. He was saying the exact opposite of what you're saying.
The name of your next book.
Dude, you were full of crap. He was saying the exact opposite of what you're saying. Literally. If you were really listening, he was saying the exact opposite.
This guy is so full of shit. I can't believe you guys are.
Wyatt Earp, you're always full of shit. Why, you're always full of shit. So why are you calling someone out that's full of shit when you're always full of shit? I mean, you're going to disagree?
You don't know me.
Yeah, we do. We all know you. We know you, who you present yourself on the show.
What, you want to give me?
We don't need him on here. He's a troublemaker, so he's out of here. So let's move forward.
he didn't have very clean language.
Well, no, he's not. This guy's a troublemaker. I've had enough of him. I'm going to ban him, I think, for life here on the 6 Screens. I've had enough of this guy. He's just nothing but a troublemaker. He doesn't know how to conduct himself. So let's move on, Fritz. Don't worry about him.
Okay.
Yeah,
we have someone else that needs to.
Yeah, who else would like to speak up and say hello to Fritz? He's with us right now, so go ahead. Let's say hello to Fritz. You're on with us.
Yeah, hello, Fritz.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Fritz. It's Tim from Australia again. I think you've been doing a good job. I think that caller was way out of line criticizing you. You're not acting like you're an authority. You're just trying to help people. That's the way I see it. So, yeah, I'd just like to give you a bit of encouragement there, to be honest. And, it's been interesting to listen to you and your ideas. I think that what you're doing is very important because you're tying in world events to it. There's a lot of people like myself that just because we left the Witness organization, we didn't lose faith in the Bible and Jesus. Right. Even though that organization actually, which is why I would argue that it works for Satan, because it ultimately turns people away from God. And it seems to me that a lot of the honest-hearted people that do believe in God leave it and they're like left confused. But what you're doing is, you're doing an important work of teaching people, at least giving them a bit of an idea of what's going on in the world. And that kind of has to be done. And I also think with this show, I've been listening for about 2 months now, and there seems to be a lot of decent-hearted, good-hearted people on there, which is important because I think that like the good-hearted people are the ones that need to hear truth. They're the ones that are open to truth. And I think that, people that don't care, they're not going to be receptive. That's just my opinion anyway. And it's just good to hear you back on, to be honest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tim. And I'm glad that you didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It would break my heart what I saw, because I went in and I was a Christian. I was born again, attending the Kingdom Hall, and I saw what they were doing to people spiritually, and it was very sad.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Rick's talked about the numbers of how many people that lose faith in the whole of, Christianity since they leave. And it seems to be, only 1 in 5 or, I think he said 17% or something. And that's just really, to me, there's a saying by a guy called David Icke, which you would have heard of. I'm not saying I agree with everything he says, but he says, if you look at the outcome, you know the journey. And it's like, well, look at what's happening to these people. They're getting, they're leaving their religion, they're leaving God. So it's like, okay, is that what it's actually designed to do? It seems to me that there's a fair bit of truth in that.
Right. It's a revolving door. It's a meat grinder. They suck people up that are hurting and then spit them out.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think that decent people are the ones that actually suffer in the organization, and the ones that are indifferent, they just like I suppose what witnesses would term worldly. They love the world and they leave and probably don't really give that much of a damn that they left because they didn't like the rules. But, there's still an element of people there that, they're searching for truth, and, and I would, I suppose judge them as decent people, good-hearted people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
No, Chris, I just wanted to make a point. Is that okay?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I just want to say hello, Linda James. If you're listening in, you're coming on in 15 minutes. Linda James, Apostle Babe. Your program's starting in 15 minutes. So go ahead.
Anyway, I wanted to make a point, and I'm glad this man brought this up, because when I look back at when I became a witness, I was pretty good intentioned. I was, 16 years old, very naive, and I just wanted to know about the Bible, and I was already interested, and I remember having conversations with Dan and Angela when I was studying with the Worldwide Church of God, and I had their whole library, and I was fascinated by the Bible, and I thought I had good intentions, but this is something that I've talked to Mark many times because we're good friends, and I said there's a difference between me and you because Mark grew up and he knew the oppression and the bad social dynamic of being a witness and being raised in a household. I wasn't raised in a household with witnesses. I was raised with a pretty good family. And so by the time I started to study, I didn't have the internet. And I didn't know what it was like to find out how dysfunctional they were until the moment I got married in 1991. Now, I got married in 1991, but I started studying in 1985. I didn't have the internet. I didn't have the luxury of knowing the past of the organization. I didn't know what it was like to be raised in a home with an oppressive, dysfunctional, not only fathers, but the mothers were very dysfunctional too because they didn't have anywhere else to go other than to go to the Kingdom Hall and do what the brother said. And the one thing I did want to say before I let the conversation go back over, when I went to my last circuit assembly, I was already inactive for probably 5 years. It was in Mira Loma, which is about 10 miles out of Corona. And I remember having a sense of some emotional maturity. By that time, I knew the witnesses were bogus, but I remember looking around the assembly hall after the final Sunday talk, and the women, especially more so than the men, they just looked tired. And you're looking at women that are looking at raising kids, and they're confronting the fact that not only did they have to realize in the mid-90s, okay, the generation teaching was pushed back, and it was pushed back, and it was changed 3 times. And I was thinking, what happened to, when I came in? And when I say that question, I know exactly what happened. The bottom line is their theology didn't work. And they were trying to overcompensate by, the generation teaching changed. And I remember when I started studying, I said, okay, if for some reason before the year 2000, the organization says we're going to have a change of the teaching, I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be something wrong. And I had to confront that in 1995. And it was heartbreaking because I wasn't raised in it. I didn't have to go to the Kingdom Hall because my parents told me I had to go. I didn't go to the Kingdom Hall because my wife made me go. I went to the Kingdom Hall because I studied and I believed in their theology. And I'm sitting there in 1995, 96, 97, and things are just crumbling. And I hope what I'm trying to say is resonating because when I came in, I truly felt it was the truth. I wasn't raised in it, so I didn't have to be conditioned or told how to think. Anyway, Rick, I know that Linda's coming on, and I just wanted to make that point because a lot of witnesses are good-hearted and they're good intention. They were just led astray because at the time they didn't have the ability to decipher what was happening. And now we're sitting here in 2023 and now we know. Now we know exactly what's happening because there's nothing functional about what they're doing socially. So I didn't mean to go on too much, but I'll turn it back over because I appreciate the points that the man had made before I came in.
Could I have one last question, Fritz?
Sure. I don't know if you can hear me. I think I got muted. Rick, are you able to hear me?
He's checking with Linda right now. Are you ready to end, or could we ask one more question?
If you all can hear me, I will answer. I kind of got taken off the air, but go ahead and can you hear me?
We can hear you, Fritz. Go ahead, Fritz. Yep.
I had a question. There was a caller several back that was a woman, and she was explaining about her situation and about the mental anguish that she's experiencing because of people involved with the New World Economic Forum, the New World Order. And she was talking about they did this and they did that. Who are the they that you seem to understand she was talking about?
Well, I don't know the particular individuals in her particular case, but if you're interested in who they are, see if you can get my book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And I go into, these are powerful bloodlines that go way back. And another way to look at it is when did all of these pharaohs and kings and powerful rulers, emperors of the Roman Empire and so forth, when did all of these people that are interbred decide, you know what, we're going to quit ruling things, we're just going to turn it over to the common peasants and the serfs? They never did. They continued. And, these bloodlines are intertwined. I exposed that Prince Charles, who's now King Charles, I exposed in the 90s that he was related to Count Dracula. And then I was amazed that after that came out publicly, he has embraced the fact that he's from Count Dracula and gone to Transylvania many times. But, get my book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati, because it'll make things a lot clearer.
Thank you, Fritz.
Hey, Fritz, I wanted to, I know that I just put a plug in for another couple that has a YouTube channel, and it's called Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. And you can learn on there, or anyone can learn on there, a lot about growing your own food and your own meat sources, and about herbal medicine, and how to just grow herbs on your own, in your own garden, and then how to use them. I mean, today I watched a show about elderberry, and it was wonderful. But I just wanted to tell people that that's a really good source of good information also.
Thank you. And that was Off Grid with who?
Doug and Stacy.
Right. Okay, good. People, there you go. See, she's giving you an example of an answer. Off Grid with Doug and Stacy.
I know them. I haven't been to their YouTube channel.
All right, we got Fritz Springmeier on with us tonight. What would you like to say to Fritz? We're going to be going to another program here very shortly, so here's your last chance. So go ahead, speak up, say hello to Fritz Springmeier. You're on with us. Linda J.
Yeah, I'll go.
Well, hold on one second. Listen, Rob. Listen. I'm not gonna.
Rick, wait a minute.
I'm gonna
Wait a minute.
I'm gonna shut you.
Seconds, okay?
I'm gonna shut you down.
Just wait like
if you're gonna be very controversial, you're going down. Okay.
I know. Instead of cutting me off, I'll go toe to toe with this guy next week.
Yes.
I'll go toe to toe with him next week. Quit cutting me off.
Well, quit talking. Quit talking so we won't have to cut you off.
Yeah, no, we don't want him on. We don't want him on. We're going to be banning him. He's just a troublemaker. We don't need this guy. He's done nothing but cause problems here on the 6 screens. If he can't speak up and be nice, forget about him. Okay. Who would like to say hello to Fritz? You're on with us. Go ahead. Fritz, you there with us? Yeah. Well, we got people that, they don't know how to behave themselves. And I'm getting tired of it. I've been doing this program for 17 years, but if a person can't come on and be sensible, we don't need them. So we're sick of that guy. He's just driving me crazy. Okay, so who'd like to say a little Fritz? You're on with us. We got to go to Pasta Babe coming up here next. So what would you like to say to Fritz Springmeier? He's on with us tonight.
I have a question about the Watchtower Tarot card. How does the tarot card and the Kabbalah play into the Watchtower Society?
I don't know. Rick probably could answer that question better than I.
Aren't they based on a divination type deal where they're trying to predict the end of the world? And
well, tarot cards are magic, divination, yeah.
And don't you have to have a sacrificial type thing in order to be accurate in that process? Is that why in the scriptures they sacrifice children into the fire for, I guess, blessings or something from the demonic? Is that what the Watchtower is doing? Is that what governments do? They sacrifice souls in order for the demonic to give them good tidings or something?
Well, sacrifice is definitely something that the occult world does frequently. I'm not sure exactly how you're interpreting the Watchtower participating in sacrifice.
Well, not just the Watchtower. Let's say like the Catholic Church. You do an upside down cross over yourself when you sit down to a meal or when you pray. And let's say you got the Mormons have the polygamy, and the Nation of Islam, they deny Christ. They deny the Holy Spirit. It seems to be this whole this whole school of scoundrels that are fooling the masses into damning themselves against God without knowing it.
Well, there is a lot of darkness in this world, and it sometimes breaks my heart to think what God has to suffer through. The human race puts him through a lot, but he is above time and he sees that things aren't out of control. He allowed evil to come into the world at one point, and it's going to end at a certain point. So, I believe in the goodness of God, and even though it looks pretty messed up at times, I know that he has a good plan.
Well, Fritz, I do agree with you. He does have a good plan. He really, really does. I just want to say one thing. Aposta Babe, we're looking for you to come on. If you're not on in the next 15 minutes, the program will end. You will not be coming on tonight. So Aposta Babe, if you want to come on the program, come in now. We're waiting for you. If not, we're going to end it when Fritz is done here in 15 minutes. Go ahead, Fritz.
Well, I think that I will go ahead and bow out. We've had quite a long time of questions, and hopefully it's been beneficial for the listeners. And it's been long enough, I think. Rick, you've been just wonderful as a host. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. Wow.
Well, Fritz, I really tell you what, I mean, there's a lot of people came through here tonight. It's amazing. People love to listen to what you have to say, and we're so pleased to have you on our network. You're a good man, Fritz. We really appreciate your presence. You do a good job explaining what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So why don't you take a couple of minutes here and just let the audience know where we're going with all of this. What's the future of the Watchtower, Fritz?
Well, as you've so aptly discussed, the Watchtower Society is going down. And all around the world, nations are divesting themselves of the Watchtower Society. And here in the United States, they're struggling legally because the Illuminati's taken their protective hand away because they no longer need the Watchtower Society. So how quick it falls now that the protective hand has been taken away is, you're saying that within a few years, that's what we're going to see. And for those of us that have brushed shoulders with this evil organization, we're glad to see it leave. I just pray that people, when this organization that they have put all of their energy and focus on goes down, that they will rethink things and that they will open their hearts to Christ. Because, He is the answer. You look in the scriptures in Acts, and it says there's no other name by which we must be saved other than Jesus Christ. It's not the Watchtower Society, people. It's not an organization. It's Jesus Christ that's your salvation. And how do you come to Christ? Well, he tells you there in John 3. So, that's not the purpose of this program tonight, is to evangelize you. But I'm just saying that, we're going to see a lot of hurting people leaving, and I'm just hoping that they find the real answers. And you're a good man, Rick. I was listening to you talk to David before I came on, and that's what we need. We need people like Rick that are going to pick up the pieces when this organization falls apart.
Well, thank you for saying that, Fritz. But I'll tell you what, all of us together here on the network make a big difference in helping people get out of the Watchtower. And we've got a number of programs. We've got 17 programs now here on the 6 screens. And we're all doing our best to get people to come to grips with what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. But Fritz, we're also always glad to have you with us. Thank you very much for coming in tonight. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Rick. Good night, everybody.
Well, good night, Fritz, and keep waving that flag of victory. We'll see you soon. I'll be in touch with you. Thank you, Fritz.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Rick, this is XJW Curious Pete. How you doing today?
I'm doing good today, Pete. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be coming on with Linda, but she seems to have gone MIA for the moment.
Well, we're having.
If you want to,
yeah, I mean, what we've got.
Send me the link.
Yeah, I'll send you the
link.
I'll send you the link. But we got to get Linda on the ball here. I mean, I've been going here now for many hours, and her program starts. I mention it. I put it up on the 6 screens on my Facebook page. We got to get her on the ball. She's got to come in, because it just makes things very, very difficult. So I'm not picking on her, but I want to get Linda to be able to come in when her program starts. This is getting, that's what we do here. And I want her to be able to do this, because it's very, very, difficult when you're up for, 24 hours and trying to get programs started. So Linda, if you're on, now is your time to come on. So I've been waiting for you for an hour. So let's get you moving, Linda. Okay. Okay. Pete, so what would you like me to do? Get you on here tonight or what?
Yeah, why don't you do that? And
Okay.
when Linda comes in, we can bring her in.
Okay. But if she's not on here in 10 minutes, if Linda does not show up in 10 minutes, there'll be no healing after the Watchtower program. Okay?
Fair enough.
There'll be no program for Linda tonight. I mean, she's got to come on. She's got to be ready. If not, we're going to just discontinue the program. So I'll get you on here, Pete. Okay?
Yeah. Do you have my email address?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I'll send it to you. Thank
Hey,
you.
Rick, how's it going?
Larry, doing good. How you doing? All right?
Oh, pretty good. I just wanted to say something about what the previous program said. I just was thinking about, and I do feel bad for God and for Christ, what man has become, what man has done. But this is a simple solution. I don't feel too. I mean, that's kind of the mentality that the Watchtower is like. Oh, you have to be careful. You're going to bring reproach on God's name. Well, God is a big God. He can handle it. And even though it's sad what humans have done, there's a simple solution. All God has to do is correct it sooner, and then he won't have to keep suffering. So I don't really think we need to worry about God. We just need to worry about ourselves and help others and do the best we can.
Well, that's a good thought, Larry. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do, right?
All right. Yeah. I just, I do, like I said, I do feel bad, but I'm not gonna feel too sorry for God to the point where it's gonna bother me, because, like I said, the simple solution is to change it now, so God doesn't suffer anymore. If it's that big of a deal for God. But I'm also saying I don't think it's that big of a deal, because as I said, I won't say he's a big man, because he's not a man, but that's an expression. Oh, he can handle it because he's a big man, right? So God is a big God. He can handle it. And I don't think we need to worry about us. I don't think we need to worry about us reproaching his name, because no matter what we do as humans, God's name is above that.
Hey, Larry, I really appreciate your comment, because I feel the same way. And like, you triggered me, because I really feel that way. It's like God's a big boy, so to speak. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but like he's exactly. Kind of, I'm not saying he's caused our problems, but he's allowed these problems to go on for centuries upon centuries. And I do have faith that he'll correct it one day, but he certainly has taken his time and letting a lot of evil happen. And I think it's healthy to look at God and not always a feel-good way, like, oh, God is just good all the time. Well, he's bad too. I mean, he does things. He's done a lot of genocide and things in the Bible, but he is good, and I think we have a good outcome in the long run. But we might have to attain some pain. But I really appreciate your comment. Thank you, brother.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Hey, is this Kurt?
Yeah.
Hey.
Good to hear. Good to hear you. You and the Pasta Babes both out there in L.A. Have you seen her today anywhere?
No, I was actually in L.A., but that's a big place too, so I didn't see her.
I'm just kidding around. I'm kidding around.
I'm sure you are. You are.
Rick's looking for a Pasta Babe.
Well, we got. I think we do have a Pasta Babe coming on here shortly here, but we've got to get to Linda to come on when she's due, because, I mean, she's losing a lot of listeners. It's, we got to get Linda to get coming on when she's supposed to come on. So, all right. So, anyways, let's bring Linda on. Linda, you on there with us?
Here.
All right, we got to get Linda. I'm telling.
I can barely hear you. I had to get off my computer.
Well, Well, if we can't get the computer going, we got to get you on the cell phone. But Linda, we got to get you. We have to. We have to. You can't. Well, what do you? What do you mean you can't hear me? You can't hear me? All right. Well, I don't know if we're going to continue on with the program here tonight. I think I'm going to end it right here. I really do. All right. All right. But I mean, okay, bye. All right. We're going to end the program here tonight, folks. You know, we have we have to.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Rick. I don't want to be disrespectful, but can't Pete have the show and I can co-host him until.
Okay, well, we'll have Pete come on, but you know, I'm just getting to the point. You know, I work hard here trying to keep programs together. I work very hard. I'm up 24 hours a day over the weekend here trying to keep these programs together. People have a certain time to come on. I'm not going to beat up on Apostle Babe, but you know, this happens all the time. I got to get her on. I post up on the 6 screens when people are coming on. I can't, you know, we gotta bring people on when they're supposed to come on. If they can't come on, then we're not going to have them come on, period. So what would you like to do, Grace?
Yes, I'm really sorry for everything. I apologize, but you know, the Pete person, now we have him and you. I can co-host. I'm well aware.
All right. Well, let's do that. Well, let's do that, Grace. You seem to be pretty much alert and ready to go. So why don't we have you co-host with Pete tonight? Would you like that?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's bring Pete on. I did send Pete some. I just sent him the link. You know, this is not easy to do a program like this. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. But, you know, I've got to get people to cooperate. And, you know, I appreciate everything that Apostle Babe has done in the past, and she does a good program. But, you know, this has got to end. I can't do this every single weekend. You know, I'm up all day long. And we've got to get an Apostle Babe program, because what happens is she misses a lot of people. She misses a lot of people coming on. You know, if we can't have continuity, people leave. So, okay, let's bring Pete on. Okay,
Hey, Rick.
we got Pete. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
I know you. I was just going to say that this is Eric, and I'll help out a little bit here and
Yeah.
there with Grace.
Good.
On our show, you know, I'll send a little comment here and there to help you all out if you need it.
Great.
I'm just doing a little cooking, but yeah.
All right. Well, Eric will stay right in here with us. We got Pete with us. We got Grace and Eric. I'd love to have you come on too and do it. Okay, because I mean we got to keep the program going, and we have to have some continuity to this. So let's bring Pete on. Yes, go ahead, Kurt.
I don't want him out. I know you're frustrated. I got an idea how hard you work all the hours, but now Apostle Babe, I think her feelings are hurt. She's a wonderful person.
Kurt, don't get into this now. Just take away the show, and we will start now.
Well,
take the show away.
Well, Apostle Babe is a nice woman. I'm not picking on her, but we have a program here. You know, this is a network that is working right now. And we have to have people that are going to participate in the program. There's certain times people come on, and you know, they have plenty of time to get on here and get ready and do the program. I'm not complaining, just explaining. So this is what we have to do. We were on a schedule. So let's bring Pete on. We got Grace. We got Eric with us as well. So hello, Pete. How you doing? Good. I'm not looking. I know we all love Apostle Babe, but you know, I'm just getting to the point that it's very, very important that we keep these programs going on time. And I know sometimes programs go over, but I try to do the best I can for Apostle Bay, but I just can't continue to go forward and wait and wait and wait. This program has to go forward. So, anyways, Grace, are you on there with us as well?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Well, good girl, Grace. We certainly appreciate you coming on. So let's get the program started. Let's get Pete. Let me just make sure that everything's going here live. Pete, we're going to go live here. So hold on 1 second. Ooh. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome into our midnight program. We've got Pete with us tonight. We got Grace. We've got Eric. So we'd love to hear what all these folks have to say tonight. So hello, Pete. Going good, Pete. Going really good. So what's going on in your world? Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. Hello, Grace. Grace, you with us too?
Yes, I'm here. So everybody is welcome to the show, and we will have a nice program tonight. And hopefully Linda will come on later. Otherwise, I will co-host with Pete, and it's not a problem. Everybody is welcome.
Excellent. Well, we're glad you guys want to kind of fill in here tonight for Linda. So we do have a dog barking in the background. Whose dog is that? Yeah, I'm wondering. We do have a dog barking in the background. So whose dog is that? Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right. So anyways, let's start the program here tonight. So what's on your mind? We've got a few co-hosts coming in here tonight. So Pete, what are you thinking about? What's going on in the Watchtower, Pete, lately that you'd like to talk about?
Nobody can hear you on YouTube. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know if Rick is there and he can.
I'm right here. What's going on here tonight? What's happening?
This lady.
I can hear him, but he keeps coming in and out.
Hold on one second. Go ahead, sister. What's happening tonight? Tell me what's going on.
Can't hear Pete.
You can't
I
hear
can hear him, but he keeps coming in and out.
Pete. Can you come closer to your phone? And they're saying that you're not coming in nice and clear. I mean, this isn't CBS here. I mean, there's going to be problems. People have microphone problems. Pete, can you come a little bit closer? I mean, this is just driving me nuts. I mean, you guys, can you just cut me a little slack? Pete, come a little closer. Is that any better, folks? Go ahead. Count to 6, Pete.
It sounded better to me.
All right. I mean, we got the most fussiest people on this network. It just drives me absolutely nuts.
I hear him just fine.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, people drive me nuts. I mean, come on, folks.
It's okay, Rick. I hear him perfectly. He's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for not banning me, Rick.
I'm gonna ban you. If you keep talking out of line, I'm going to ban you.
I know. I'm sorry. I irritate everybody. It's not
listen,
just you.
Listen, I put a lot of work into this network. We have a lot of people that rely on it. This network is growing big time. We got to have people on the ball. We can't have people just, spitting stuff out that's foolish. So let's keep the program going. All right.
I don't think I'm being foolish.
Well, at times you are.
I will
At times you
I
are.
will keep him on the. I will keep this guy on the short leash. You have my word, Rick.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm
I'm
watching him like a hawk. This guy does cause trouble. Any more trouble, he'll be banned for life. Okay, B.
I know.
Yeah. So that's what the elders used to tell me.
Well, listen. See, there you go. Listen,
Are you really going to try to?
Yeah, I'm thinking of it. I've had enough of you. Just keep this up. And
don't you see you disturbing us? Just let us have our program, brother. Come on, man.
Okay.
I'm working my way through my problems too. Okay.
All right, but you've been working through them a long time. I want
on your own time.
Yeah.
Maria, settle down now, and everybody else, settle down. Take a deep breath, and Rick also, you can take it slow now and settle down because I will be controlling this now. So yes, everybody calm down. Now, people.
And let me just say this: the elders were justified when they used to tell him that. That's all.
Look at.
Well, we all have our problems, but anyway, Pete was talking about that he doesn't have a good subject now. But Pete, you will find a subject someday, and then you won't be able to keep quiet, and you will have a show about that subject.
Hey, I want to say
when the time is right.
Hey, I want to say something real quick about the subject. Somebody was talking about Armageddon, the fear of Armageddon, the Watchtower bringing Armageddon. My studies of the Bible, of the scriptures, and I'm not preaching, but I came to the conclusion by actually reading the Bible that Armageddon doesn't come until 1,000 years. So it's 1,000 years is a long time, so it's not right around the corner. Something may be around the corner, but it isn't Armageddon.
Actually, the Bible says.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we got Linda on with us. Okay, well, we've got Apostle Bay back on with us. So let's move forward. And we want to hear what she has to say, as well as the other people on here tonight as well. So I'll cut out of here. Go ahead, Apostle Babe. It's your program.
can't hear you guys on YouTube at all. We can't hear you on YouTube. No, we can't hear you. Okay.
Hello. I want to say now, I have both YouTube and I have you on the phone also. I can hear you very well on YouTube. It's not a problem. Maybe we had this problem before that people are on the show that's the old show. You have to go to the new show. It's called Healing After the Watchtower. And then you need to refresh your browser on YouTube. That's your problem. Okay.